The beginnings of what later became known as the Silk Road did not originate from a deliberate plan for international trade. Instead, it emerged as a result of the military and diplomatic ambitions of Han Dynasty China during the 2nd century BC. Upon ascending to the throne in 141 BC, Emperor Wu of Han inherited a dynasty already embroiled in conflicts with the nomadic Xiongnu Confederation along the northern borders of China. These fierce horsemen had been repeatedly attacking Chinese settlements, causing disruptions to agriculture and posing a threat to the stability of frontier regions. The emperor's response unintentionally gave rise to the most significant trade network in ancient history. The Han court's initial focus towards the west was driven by intelligence reports of potential allies located beyond the Xiongnu territories. Chinese officials had discovered the Yue people, who had been displaced from their homeland in the Gansu corridor due to Xiongnu attacks around 174 BC. These nomads had supposedly resettled in a distant western location, prompting Emperor Wu to strategize an alliance that would enable China to mount simultaneous attacks on the Xiongnu from two fronts. This military strategy resulted in a highly pivotal diplomatic mission in history. Jiang Qian, a trusted palace attendant known for his loyalty and organizational capabilities, was tasked with the perilous mission of locating and negotiating with the UAG in 138 BC. Accompanied by approximately 100 men, including his Xiongnu guide Ganfu, who possessed crucial knowledge of the Western territories, the expedition faced a catastrophic setback when Xiongnu forces captured the entire party shortly after entering nomadic territory. Rather than executing the prisoners, the Xiongnu kept Jiang Qian and his men in comfortable captivity for over a decade, hoping to extract information about Chinese military strength and frontier defenses. During his period of captivity, Jiang Qian gained first-hand insights into the Xiongnu society, where he observed their advanced horse-breeding methods, dynamic tactics in mobile warfare, and extensive knowledge of Central Asian geography. The Xiongnu comers maintained trade links with various oasis settlements, trading livestock, leather products, and metal weaponry for farming supplies and luxury goods. This experience offered Jiang Qian valuable intelligence on the intricate network of connections between nomadic and settled communities in the steppe and desert regions. Jiang Qian's successful escape circa 129 BC marked the commencement of his official diplomatic venture. Leading a smaller group of survivors, he traversed perilous mountain passes and desert paths to reach Bactria, where he confirmed the establishment of a new kingdom by the Yue. Nevertheless, the diplomatic reality proved underwhelming for Chinese strategic goals. The UAEs, now inhabiting fertile valleys with access to established trade routes, showed no inclination towards costly military pursuits against their former Xiongnu adversaries. They had adeptly adjusted to their new surroundings and saw the distant conflict as irrelevant to their existing prosperity. Despite the diplomatic setback, Jiang Qian's observations of Bactrian markets exposed remarkable commercial opportunities. He encountered Chinese silk goods that had somehow made their way to these western regions through intermediary traders, fetching prices well beyond their initial costs. Local leaders and affluent merchants flaunted silk attire to signify status, while Chinese lacquer and bronze mirrors adorned esteemed households. These commodities had traversed vast distances, changing hands multiple times, each transaction elevating their worth significantly. The return journey in 126 BC posed equal dangers, with Xiongnu forces once again apprehending Jiang Qian's party. During a period of internal turmoil within Xiang, the second escape took place, enabling the survivors to return to Chinese territory after a 13-year absence. Jiang Qian's detailed reports to Emperor Wu not only outlined the political landscape of Central Asia, but also highlighted the economic potential of establishing systematic trade relationships with the Western regions. Emperor Wu's reaction showcased the increasing commercial sophistication of the Han dynasty. Instead of retreating from Western engagement following a diplomatic setback, the court authorized Jiang Qian's second expedition in 115 BC with a focus on commercial objectives. This mission transported significant amounts of Chinese silk, lacquerware, and metalwork as trade commodities rather than diplomatic offerings. The expedition also featured technical experts who could evaluate the quality of foreign goods and identify lucrative import opportunities. Jiang Qian's second voyage facilitated direct communication with several Central Asian authorities, including the realms of Fergana, Sugdana, and Pattaya, each presenting unique products and trade prospects. Fergana was known for breeding exceptional horses sought after by Chinese military leaders for their cavalry units. Sogdian merchants exhibited impressive proficiency in long-distance trade management, upholding networks that linked Indian, Persian, and Mediterranean markets. The territories of Parthia provided a gateway to luxury items from the Roman Empire, such as glassware, precious stones, and exotic spices. In pursuit of developing Western trade systematically, the Han court established official markets in frontier cities where foreign traders could swap goods under Chinese supervision. These regulated trading hubs allowed imperial authorities to levy customs duties and oversee the circulation of strategic resources. Chinese silk production was predominantly located in the Yangtze River Valley and nearby regions, enabling easier access to Western markets through regulated channels rather than informal transactions. The manufacturing of silk was considered a closely guarded technological expertise within China. The intricate process of cultivating silkworms, harvesting cocoons, and producing threads required specialized knowledge that was passed down through generations of skilled artisan families. To prevent the export of silkworms or disclosure of production methods to outsiders, Chinese authorities implemented strict penalties. This controlled monopoly ensured that all silk introduced to Western markets was sourced solely from Chinese origins, establishing a reliable source of income for the imperial treasury. Establishing regular trade routes connecting Chinese production hubs to Western markets involved overcoming various logistical hurdles. Merchants required accurate information on route conditions, seasonal weather patterns, and political stability in transit regions. The Han government initiated diplomatic ties with diverse Central Asian leaders to secure safe passage for Chinese trade missions. These agreements often involved annual tribute payments or gift exchanges to safeguard merchant caravans. Parthian merchants played a pivotal role as intermediaries in the evolving trade framework. The Parthian Empire, spanning from the Euphrates River to eastern Iran, controlled crucial parts of the routes linking Central Asia to Mediterranean markets. Parthian traders possessed extensive knowledge of Roman commercial preferences and were able to suggest product adjustments to Chinese merchants that would enhance sales in Western markets. Additionally, they facilitated access to Roman silver coins, which became the preferred medium of exchange for high-value transactions within the trade network. Roman interest in Chinese silk steadily increased during the 1st century BC, influenced by fashion trends among affluent urban populations. Roman writers depicted silk as an opulent material, symbolizing the refined taste and prosperous status of its wearer. Its delicate nature and shiny allure made it highly sought after for women's attire, maintaining its exclusivity and commanding premium prices within Roman trade. Consequently, merchants found lucrative opportunities by investing in the arduous task of transporting silk over long distances. The Tarim Basin emerged as a pivotal hub for transcontinental commerce during this formative era. Surrounded by towering mountain ranges, this extensive lowland housed a series of vital oasis towns catering to the needs of long-distance travelers. Flourishing around natural water sources supplied by the thawing snow, atop nearby peaks, these settlements provided pockets of fertility amidst the harsh desert landscape. Kashgar, strategically located on the western periphery of the basin, became the central hub for goods traversing between Chinese regions and markets in Central Asia. Due to its position at the crossroads of numerous mountain passes, Kashgar naturally became a focal point for merchant caravans journeying in various directions. Duly recognizing the economic advantages of their strategic location, local rulers invested in infrastructure enhancements to lure more commercial activity. Within Kashgar's bustling markets, distinct sections catered to different types of commodities, with silk traders securing prime spots near the city centre. Meanwhile, Khotan, situated along the southern fringes of the Tarim Basin, honed its expertise in jade craftsmanship and upscale textile production. While the region had long tapped into its jade reserves, burgeoning Chinese demand for premium jade articles presented fresh business prospects. Artisans in Khotan developed refined skills to fashion jade into ornamental pieces, tailored specifically for Chinese buyers. Additionally, the city emerged as a secondary silk manufacturing center, employing unique techniques, distinct from traditional Chinese methods, to create fabrics with their own distinctive traits. In a geographical depression below sea level, Turpin offered unique advantages for long-distance travelers despite its harsh climate. Its strategic location granted access to dependable water sources and agricultural goods, enabling merchants to circumvent challenging mountain passages. The residents of Turpin honed specialized expertise in desert survival tactics, offering crucial guide services and equipment for navigating the Taklamakan Desert. The Taklamakan Desert posed a significant barrier to east-west trade routes, characterized by expansive shifting sand dunes and extreme temperatures ranging from scorching heat to freezing cold. Successful desert crossings necessitated precise timing, ample water provisions, and knowledgeable guides attuned to seasonal weather patterns. Travelers frequently journeyed during the temperate spring and autumn months to mitigate harsh conditions and sandstorms. Navigation through the Taklamakan relied on a blend of celestial observation, landmark identification, and ancestral wisdom from seasoned desert travelers. Experienced guides could discern subtle terrain features imperceptible to the untrained eye, grasping wind patterns that influenced sand dune formations. The choice between southern and northern routes presented varied advantages contingent upon seasonal factors and political climates in oasis cities. Effective water management emerged as the paramount survival skill for desert wayfarers. Caravans transported water in specially crafted leather containers to minimize evaporation while ensuring portability over extensive distances. Merchants adeptly located subterranean water sources and developed methods for uncovering concealed springs crucial for replenishing their provisions. The distance between reliable water outlets dictated the maximum journey span between oasis halts. The Pome Mountains, revered by ancient explorers as the pinnacle of the world, posed formidable challenges to the advancement of trade routes. These majestic peaks, boasting numerous summits exceeding 20,000 ft in height, acted as a daunting barrier separating the Central Asian steppes from the Indian subcontinent. Mountain passes remained blocked by snow for extensive periods, compelling traders to meticulously plan their crossings to avoid the risk of becoming stranded due to abrupt weather changes. Journeying at high altitudes necessitated the use of specialized gear and methodologies unfamiliar to merchants accustomed to desert or steppe environments. The rarefied air at extreme heights induced altitude sickness in both humans and animals, while sudden temperature plunges could spell peril for ill-prepared travelers. Merchants gradually acclimated to escalating elevations and honed techniques to identify hazardous weather patterns that could ensnare caravans in exposed mountain locales. Yak herds played a vital role in providing transportation services in lofty regions where horses and camels faced limitations. These resilient creatures, capable of enduring severe cold and high altitudes, could ferry substantial burdens across landscapes impassable to other domesticated animals. Communities dwelling in mountainous areas cultivated specialized expertise in managing yaks and charting routes, which proved indispensable to long-distance traders. The accumulation of dependable route data emerged as a linchpin for the expansion of trade networks during this epoch. Prosperous merchants meticulously documented travel durations, seasonal conditions, and pertinent local political dynamics impacting route safety. This intel represented valuable commercial knowledge that seasoned traders safeguarded vigilantly, occasionally sharing with trusted associates or vending to novices entering the commerce. Political interactions with local rulers along trade routes necessitated continual attention and negotiation. Each oasis city or mountain kingdom upheld its own customs regulations, taxation systems, and security protocols. Merchants were required to grasp the local political landscape and uphold harmonious relations with authorities who held the power to either facilitate or impede commercial engagements. These associations frequently entailed regular exchanges of gifts, tribute payments, or other forms of diplomatic gestures, augmenting the overall expenses of long-distance trade. The trade networks established during Zhang Tian's expeditions underwent significant changes within the initial 3 centuries of the Common Era, transitioning from sporadic diplomatic interactions to structured trade partnerships, directly linking the Roman Empire with Han China. This evolution unfolded as both empires achieved unparalleled levels of prosperity and territorial dominance, fostering the economic conditions essential for enduring long-distance trade despite the formidable geographical barriers dividing East and West. The Roman Empire's admiration for Chinese silk rose notably during the reign of Augustus, stimulated by the empire's burgeoning affluence that created fresh markets for luxury goods among the senatorial class and affluent merchants. Discoveries from Pompeii reveal remnants of silk in affluent households, while contemporaneous Roman authors increasingly documented the social ramifications of silk consumption. Pliny the Elder deplored the outflow of Roman gold to the east for silk, estimating an annual expenditure of 50 million sesterces solely on silk imports, amounting to roughly 1% of the imperial treasury's yearly revenue, underscoring the immense scale of Roman silk demand in the early imperial era. The Roman fondness for silk derived from various factors beyond considerations of fashion. The fabric's exceptional lightness rendered it suitable for the Mediterranean climate, while its gleaming appearance aligned with Roman aesthetic preferences for materials that conveyed affluence through refined elegance rather than flamboyant ostentation. Roman women had a strong preference for silk due to its excellent draping qualities, which beautifully accentuated the graceful lines of traditional Roman attire. Moreover, the scarcity of this fabric played a key role in social circles, as it allowed affluent families to showcase their wealth through fashion choices that clearly differentiated them from lower socio-economic classes. Roman traders employed sophisticated marketing strategies to promote Chinese silk, aiming to maximize profits within the empire's established commercial channels. They learned that Roman consumers had a preference for silk dyed in specific hues, especially deep purples and rich reds that resonated well with Roman color symbolism. This valuable market insight not only affected production decisions in China, but also led to the emergence of the first instances of international market adaptation within the silk industry. Chinese artisans began crafting silk tailored to Roman preferences, utilizing dyeing methods to create colors not commonly found in local Chinese markets. Positioned strategically between the Roman and Chinese realms, Parthian merchants became indispensable intermediaries in the silk trade, leveraging their presence in both Roman Syria and Chinese frontier cities. These merchant families specialized in currency exchange, language interpretation, and diplomatic protocols, crucial for facilitating transactions between parties who seldom interacted in person. By controlling key segments of the Western trade routes, Parthian traders implemented sophisticated pricing policies to enhance profits, ensuring a level of price predictability that encouraged ongoing Roman investments in silk procurement. They established standardized markup rates for various goods, with silk commanding the highest premiums due to its high demand in Roman markets. Parthian merchants established robust quality grading systems, enabling Roman buyers to specify desired silk characteristics without physical inspection before purchase. Despite creating obstacles, the Parthian taxation system along trade routes presented opportunities for long-distance commerce. By levying custom duties and providing security services along major trade routes, Parthian authorities mitigated transportation costs, enhancing trade efficiency. Parthian investment in road construction, bridge maintenance, and way station development fostered safer travel conditions, decreasing risks associated with long-distance commerce. These enhancements enabled merchant caravans to travel quicker and transport larger cargo, partially offsetting taxation impacts on final prices. Parthian diplomatic ties with Central Asian kingdoms were crucial for maintaining stable trade during political unrest. In times of local conflicts disrupting route segments, Parthian officials could negotiate alternatives or provide military escorts for caravans, ensuring continuous trade amidst regional warfare or political turmoil. Following the rise of the Sassanid Empire in 224 AD, changes in policies initially disrupted trade patterns. Yet the Sassanids swiftly recognized the revenue potential of silk trade and developed systematic approaches to oversee trans-Asian commerce. By standardizing documentation for caravans, implementing fixed fee schedules, and quality controls, Sassanid officials reduced disputes and improved trade management. Their superior investment in trade infrastructure surpassed Parthian endeavors in both scope and sophistication. The new empire established caravan stations at regular intervals along main trade routes, offering consistent lodging and services for merchants on the move. These stations featured secure storage areas for valuable merchandise, maintenance facilities for pack animals, and meeting areas for conducting business with local agents. Additionally, the caravans functioned as information hubs, providing travelers with up-to-date details on road conditions, political events, and trade opportunities in remote urban centers. The introduction of standardized weights and measures across diverse territories marked a key milestone in the commercial networks of the classical era. Standardization arose due to merchants facing challenges in converting measurement systems used by different kingdoms and city-states along trade routes. Roman merchants, used to imperial measurements, encountered Chinese units based on distinct mathematical principles. However, Chinese officials took the lead in standardizing measurements by creating reference weights in trading cities, facilitating international transactions. Furthermore, they trained officials in conversion techniques, promoting the use of standardized silver currency for high-value transactions across long distances. Chinese merchants assessed Roman coins based on silver content, establishing an international currency system based on precious metal weight. Sassanid traders pioneered banking techniques that reduced risks during coin transportation, leading to the development of the first international banking system, which relied on credit arrangements and sophisticated record-keeping. The diffusion of paper-making technology to the West during this era exemplifies the overarching patterns of technological interchange associated with commercial relationships. Initially closely safeguarded during the Han Dynasty, Chinese paper-making methods gradually spread towards the West through Central Asian communities as Chinese craftsmen settled in prominent trading cities along major trade routes. The dissemination of these technologies unfolded gradually and unevenly, with each region adapting Chinese techniques to suit local materials and needs. Samarkand emerged as a pivotal Central Asian hub for paper production, drawing on methods acquired from Chinese artisans who had established workshops in the city in the 2nd century AD. Samarkand papermakers tailored Chinese practices to suit regional fiber sources, resulting in papers with distinct characteristics from their Chinese counterparts. Positioned strategically, Samarkand facilitated the distribution of its paper to both Western and Southern markets, thereby introducing the technology to Persian and subsequently Arab territories. Similarly, The eastward propagation of Roman glass-making practices led to comparable patterns of technological adaptation and regional expertise. Specifically, the Roman techniques for producing clear, colorless glass garnered strong interest from Chinese artisans accustomed to working with colored glass containing various impurities. Roman traders introduced glass samples to Chinese markets, prompting local craftsmen to analyze these products and endeavor to reproduce the manufacturing techniques. The fusion of Roman methods with traditional Chinese approaches by Chinese glassmakers gave rise to innovative hybrid techniques, resulting in glass items possessing unique qualities that appealed to both domestic and international markets. These advancements encompassed novel decorative methods that integrated traditional Chinese artistic themes with Roman technical practices, yielding glass artifacts that commanded premium prices in both Eastern and Western markets. Alongside the trade in luxury goods, the exchange of agricultural products and farming methods also transpired. Chinese peaches, apricots, and a variety of spices were transported westward via trade routes, while Roman grapes, walnuts, and specific grains migrated eastward. These trade exchanges necessitated meticulous attention to preservation methods and transportation systems capable of upholding product integrity across vast distances and extended durations. Although Roman wine did make its way to Chinese markets during this era, it did so in limited quantities owing to challenges in transportation and Chinese preferences for alternative alcoholic beverages. Chinese merchants soon discovered that by infusing Roman wine with assorted spices and honey, they could prepare modified versions that catered to Chinese tastes while retaining quintessential Roman qualities. Alongside the exchange of merchandise, the dissemination of medical information and pharmaceutical goods emerged as a significant facet of ancient period interactions. Chinese medicinal literature delineating acupuncture methods and herbal cures found its way to Roman territories, where Greek and Roman healers integrated select principles into their own medical doctrines. Conversely, Roman medical expertise, notably encompassing surgical practices and anatomical comprehension, journeyed eastwards and left an indelible mark on the development of Chinese medical traditions. Concurrently, Chinese silk production experienced exponential growth to meet burgeoning global demand. This expansion saw the emergence of new silk-producing regions in lands formerly dedicated to diverse agricultural pursuits, while established production hubs upgraded their equipment and techniques to enhance both the quantity and quality of silk yields. To uphold the reputation of export silk, the imperial government instituted quality control benchmarks that guaranteed uniform characteristics for international commerce. The advancement of silk dyeing techniques specifically tailored for export markets led to the emergence of novel categories of Chinese silk merchandise. Chinese dyers mastered the art of creating colors that appealed to Roman preferences while upholding the superior technical quality that set Chinese silk apart from substandard imitations produced elsewhere. These specialized dyeing techniques necessitated the use of imported materials, such as specific minerals and plant extracts solely obtainable from Western sources, initiating reverse trade flows that supplemented the primary eastward movement of silver and gold. Variances in trade route development across regions were influenced by local geographical features and political conditions. The northern routes through the Zongarian Basin offered seasonal advantages but remained susceptible to nomadic incursions and severe weather conditions. In contrast, the southern routes through the Tin Basin provided more dependable conditions but required lengthier travel durations and posed distinct logistical challenges. Merchants acquired specialized knowledge regarding the optimal timing for traversing various route segments, crafting intricate scheduling systems to enhance travel efficiency and reduce exposure to seasonal risks. This expertise evolved into valuable commercial intelligence that prosperous merchants safeguarded meticulously, occasionally sharing with trusted associates or vending to competitors at substantial cost. The merchant communities that flourished in Central Asian trading hubs during the classical era unexpectedly laid the groundwork for one of history's most profound religious shifts. These commercial networks, initially centered on silk, precious metals, and opulent commodities, evolved into the primary conduits through which Buddhist concepts, scriptures, and artistic traditions disseminated from India through Central Asia into China. During the 1st century AD, Indian Buddhist monks initiated a process where they recognized that the established caravan routes used for transporting Chinese silk westward could equally effectively carry Buddhist teachings eastward. The propagation of Buddhism along the Silk Road marked a significant departure from its earlier dissemination within the Indian subcontinent. Unlike its prior expansion through political and religious channels, Buddhism spread via commercial networks where merchants of diverse cultural backgrounds engaged in regular interactions, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, customs, and beliefs. This commercial backdrop significantly influenced how Buddhism adapted to new surroundings and shaped the various forms the religion assumed as it traversed diverse cultural terrains. The Kushan Empire, which held key sections of the trade routes between the 1st and 3rd centuries AD, played a pivotal role in promoting the expansion of Buddhism. Kushan rulers, themselves followers of Buddhism, actively endorsed the religion while fostering commercial growth. Emperor Kanishka, reigning from circa 127 to 150 AD, exemplified this dual commitment by patronizing Buddhist art and architecture, alongside policies that enticed merchants from different corners of the world to the Kushan domains. Kanishka's capital at Peshawar emerged as a significant hub for Buddhist scholarship and global trade, with the city's monastic institutions accommodating monks from India, Central Asia, and China who collaborated on translating Sanskrit Buddhist texts into various local languages. These translation endeavors demanded a deep understanding of numerous languages and cultures, a proficiency readily found among international merchant communities. Merchants often acted as interpreters and cultural intermediaries, aiding monks in grasping local customs and religious practices essential for adapting Buddhist doctrines to new audiences. The region of Gandhara, spanning parts of present-day Pakistan and Afghanistan, stood out as a primary artistic center where Buddhist iconography assimilated influences from Greek, Roman, Persian, and Central Asian artistic traditions. The amalgamation of cultures in Gandhara was facilitated by its strategic location along significant trade routes where artisans and patrons of diverse origins converged. Their varied aesthetic preferences and technical expertise intertwined in the production of Buddhist art, giving rise to the distinctive Gandhara school. This artistic movement showcased lifelike human figures characterized by Greek-influenced facial features, Roman-style drapery, and Persian decorative elements, establishing a unique international artistic expression. Gandhara sculptors established standardized iconographic practices for portraying Buddhist figures, enabling universal comprehension across different cultural milieus. These artistic norms traversed trade routes with merchant caravans, disseminating consistent visual depictions of Buddhist principles to remote regions. Travelers versed in Gandhara Buddhist art could discern analogous iconographic elements in Buddhist sculptures from Khotan, Kucha, or Changan, fostering visual cohesion throughout the vast expanses of the Silk Road network. Nestled in a pivotal mountain valley bridging the Central Asian steppes and Indian territories, the monastery complex at Bamiyan emerged as a prominent Buddhist hub along the trade routes. The colossal Buddha statues, hewn into cliff faces between the 3rd and 6th centuries AD, served multifaceted roles beyond their overt religious symbolism. These monuments not only delineated Bamiyan's location for travelers navigating intricate mountain terrain, but also underscored the prosperity and dedication of the indigenous Buddhist community to passing merchants and pilgrims. Bamiyan's monastic institutions offered indispensable amenities for long-distance travelers, encompassing secure lodging, medical aid, and spiritual counsel. The monks possessed intricate knowledge of regional topography and seasonal travel conditions, proffering invaluable guidance on traversing treacherous mountain passes. This practical support engendered harmonious ties between Buddhist communities and commercial networks, prompting merchants to back monastery construction and upkeep via contributions and patronage. The monastic communities in Bamiyan developed advanced agricultural and artisanal systems that enabled them to be largely self-sustaining while also producing surplus goods for trade. Monks crafted high-quality textiles, metalwork, and agricultural products highly sought after in regional markets at premium prices. These economic pursuits not only ensured a steady income for the monasteries to support their religious activities, but also exemplified Buddhist ideals of productive labor and community service. Buddhist traders played pivotal roles in spreading religious concepts, as their trade engagements necessitated building trusting relationships with partners from diverse cultural backgrounds. These commercial ties often led to discussions on philosophical and religious matters, presenting Buddhist traders with opportunities to share their beliefs with interested associates. The personal nature of these exchanges proved more impactful than formal missionary efforts in various contexts. The influential Sogdian merchants, who dominated a significant portion of Central Asian trade from the 4th to the 8th centuries AD, acted as crucial conduits for Buddhist propagation. Their vast trade networks connected Buddhist communities across great distances, facilitated by their linguistic abilities to translate Buddhist doctrines among different languages and cultures. Sogdian Buddhist merchants established temples and monasteries in urban centers throughout Central Asia, establishing a web of religious institutions supporting both spiritual and commercial endeavors. The Sogdian language became a lingua franca for Buddhist texts and communications across Central Asia during this time, with translations making Sanskrit Buddhist teachings accessible to non-Sanskrit or non-Chinese speaking populations. By fostering extensive communication networks, Sogdian Buddhist correspondence linked monastic communities and merchant enclaves along the trade routes. Sites like Dunhuang unearthed Sogdian Buddhist documents, shedding light on the interconnectedness of Buddhist communities through these communication channels. Dunhuang emerged as a significant hub along these pathways, a prominent Buddhist hub situated along the eastern stretches of the Silk Road, blending religious, commercial, and cultural elements to showcase the fusion of Buddhism with the society of the trade route. Positioned at the intersection of various trade pathways, the city naturally emerged as a pivotal meeting place for traders, pilgrims, and scholars journeying between China and Central Asia. This diverse urban setting cultivated ideal circumstances for the advancement of Buddhism and the blossoming of artistic creativity. The Mogao Caves in Dunhuang, intricately carved and adorned between the 4th and 14th centuries AD, stand as the most extensive testament to Buddhist art and culture along the Silk Road. Comprising nearly 500 individual chambers, these cave sanctuaries house Buddhist murals, sculptures, and manuscripts that chronicle the progression of Buddhist artistic expressions and religious observances across almost a millennium. The caves additionally illuminate the prominent role of merchant sponsorship in fostering Buddhist artistry, with many chambers featuring depictions of affluent merchants and their families. Within Dunhuang scriptoria, Buddhist texts were crafted in various languages and scripts to cater to the diverse linguistic requirements of the global community frequenting the city. Monks and scribes at Dunhuang undertook the translation of Sanskrit and Central Asian Buddhist texts into Chinese, alongside crafting original reflections and interpretations that mirrored the local comprehension of Buddhist doctrines. The renowned library cave at Dunhuang, sealed in the 11th century and unearthed in 1900, harbored an extensive collection of over 40,000 manuscripts and printed materials, offering unparalleled insights into Buddhist intellectual endeavors along the Silk Road. The dissemination of Buddhism to China necessitated substantial adaptation of Indian spiritual principles to Chinese philosophical and cultural contexts. This undertaking involved not only the translation of Sanskrit terminology into the Chinese language, but also the fundamental reinterpretation of Buddhist concepts to align them with Chinese intellectual traditions. Early Chinese Buddhist translators were confronted with abstract notions, such as karma and rebirth, that did not have direct counterparts in Chinese philosophies. This challenge prompted them to devise innovative solutions that fused Buddhist principles with Chinese concepts in novel ways. Kumarajiva, a Buddhist monk hailing from Kucha, who arrived in Chang'an in 401 AD, played a pivotal role in transforming Chinese Buddhism through his translation endeavors and educational initiatives. Being born to an Indian father and a Kuchian mother, Kumarajiva possessed the diverse cultural background needed to bridge Indian Buddhist erudition with Chinese intellectual legacies. His translations of prominent Mahayana scriptures, such as the Lotus Sutra and works by Nagarjuna, laid the groundwork for Chinese Buddhist terminology and interpretative frameworks that would shape Chinese Buddhism for generations. Kumarajiva's translation approach prioritized conveying meaning over strict literal accuracy, enabling him to convey intricate Sanskrit philosophical concepts using Chinese terms that captured the essence of Buddhist teachings while being accessible to Chinese audiences. Supported by a team of translators comprising Chinese and Central Asian scholars, Kumarajiva developed systematic methods for handling Sanskrit terms lacking direct equivalents in Chinese. These innovative techniques led to the establishment of a uniquely Chinese Buddhist lexicon, allowing the religion to evolve autonomously from its Indian roots. Chinese Buddhist traveler Faxian, who journeyed from China to India between 399 and 414 AD, meticulously chronicled the thriving Buddhist communities he encountered along the Silk Road routes. His detailed travelogue delineated prosperous monastic establishments in cities such as Khotan, Kashgar, and Gandhara, illustrating the deep integration of Buddhism into the economic and cultural tapestry of these trading hubs. Faxian's observations serve as crucial testimonies for comprehending the role of Buddhism within Silk Road society during the early 5th century AD. Faxian's expedition exemplifies the intimate interplay between commercial and religious voyages along the Silk Road. He frequently journeyed alongside merchant caravans for safety and logistical assistance, leveraging his religious standing to secure lodging and aid from Buddhist communities along his path. His chronicle delineates the practical arrangements that facilitated long-distance religious exploration, notably the network of monasteries that extended hospitality to itinerant monks and pilgrims. Among the most renowned Chinese Buddhist pilgrims was Xuanzang, who embarked on a pilgrimage to India between 629 and 645 AD at the zenith of the Tang dynasty. Xuanzang's voyages unfolded during an era marked by unparalleled prosperity and cultural interchange along the Silk Road, affording him the opportunity to witness Buddhist communities flourishing at their apex of development and influence. His meticulously detailed records offer an exhaustive account of Buddhist establishments, rituals, and intellectual pursuits across Central Asia and India in the 7th century AD. Upon returning to China, Xuanzang's translation endeavors epitomized the culmination of centuries of Chinese Buddhist advancement. His translations, backed by the patronage of the Tang imperial court, attained unmatched precision and comprehensiveness in transposing Sanskrit Buddhist scriptures into Chinese. The Translation Bureau established for Xuanzang's initiatives enlisted numerous scholars well-versed in Sanskrit, Chinese, and an array of Central Asian languages, giving rise to the most sophisticated translation enterprise in medieval history. The artistic legacy cultivated at Buddhist hubs along the Silk Road mirrored the cosmopolitan essence of these trading enclaves. Buddhist artistry in locales such as Kizil, Kumura, and Bzeklik assimilated aesthetic motifs from India, Persia, Central Asia, and China, engendering unique regional styles forged through the cultural dialogues facilitated by these vibrant commercial crossroads. These artistic compositions illustrate how Buddhism facilitated cultural integration along the Silk Road trade routes. The cave temples at Kizil, constructed between the 3rd and 8th centuries AD, showcase some of the most exemplary instances of Buddhist art from Central Asia. The murals within these caves blend elements of Indian Buddhist symbolism with Persian ornamental designs and techniques from Central Asia, culminating in a distinctive aesthetic that left a significant impact on the evolution of Buddhist art in the region. Furthermore, the artwork in Kizil highlights the diverse ethnic backgrounds of Buddhist communities, portraying donors and worshippers with diverse facial features and attire that reflect the various Central Asian ethnic groups. Buddhist monasteries located along trade routes expanded their economic roles well beyond their religious functions. These institutions operated as financial centers, providing merchants with secure storage for their valuables and offering credit facilities for commercial transactions. Additionally, monasteries acted as hubs of information, enabling merchants to access up-to-date intelligence on market trends, political developments, and route safety in distant areas. These services fostered mutually beneficial partnerships between Buddhist communities and commercial networks. Integration of Buddhist establishments into the economic systems of the Silk Road allowed monasteries to amass significant wealth, funding grand construction endeavors and artistic endeavors. The monumental scale of Buddhist structures in places like Bamiyan, Yungang, and Longmen demanded substantial financial resources that could only be obtained through active involvement in long-distance trade networks. Consequently, these initiatives attracted skilled artisans from diverse regions, establishing vibrant hubs of artistic ingenuity and cultural interchange. Buddhist festivals and rituals emerged as key social affairs in Silk Road cities, bringing together varied populations to share religious and cultural traditions. These gatherings served as platforms for merchants of different backgrounds to cultivate personal relationships that facilitated business dealings, fostering cultural exchange and artistic collaboration. The global nature of Buddhist communities along trade routes positioned these religious institutions as natural focal points for cross-cultural exchange and communication. The ebbing of Buddhism in Central Asia during the 8th to 10th centuries AD coincided with shifts in political and economic landscapes that disrupted the entrenched conventions of Silk Road trade. The emergence of Islamic powers in Central Asia ushered in new religious and cultural dynamics, while concurrent political instability hindered the security and profitability of long-distance trade. Nevertheless, the enduring legacy of Buddhist artistic and architectural traditions from the golden age of the religion along the Silk Road continued to shape cultural development in the region long after Buddhism's waning political influence. The dawn of the Tang dynasty in 618 AD heralded the onset of a highly prosperous and culturally vibrant epoch in Silk Road history. Diverging from their predecessors, the Tang emperors pursued an assertive expansionist agenda that pushed Chinese hegemony deep into Central Asia, culminating in the creation of the largest empire in Chinese annals and the establishment of direct administrative dominion over extensive swathes of the trade routes previously managed through loose diplomatic frameworks. Emperor Taung's military expeditions in the 630s and 640 AD meticulously subjugated the Tarim Basin kingdoms that had long retained semi-autonomous status. The fall of Gao Chang in 640 AD annihilated the final bastion of significant independent power in the eastern Tarim Basin, with subsequent conquests of Kucha, Kashgar, and other oasis cities consolidating Chinese sovereignty over the entire region. These conquests represented a departure from preceding Chinese involvements in Central Asia, which had hinged largely on tributary ties and diplomatic alliances rather than direct territorial dominance. Instituting the Tang Protectorate system under the moniker of the Protectorate General to pacify the West, the Chinese erected military outposts and administrative hubs across Central Asia. The principal protectorate headquarters at Kowa oversaw a web of fortified positions stretching from Dunhuang in the east to Samarkand in the west, supplemented by subsidiary commands in Kashgar, Khotan, and Karachar. Each garrison hosted numerous Chinese soldiers, augmented by indigenous auxiliary forces, culminating in a robust military presence tasked with safeguarding trade routes and upholding imperial decrees across vast swathes of territory. Chinese military engineers established an extensive network of beacon towers and fortified way stations to support the protectorate forces with communication and logistics. These strategically positioned installations along key trade routes facilitated swift transmission of military intelligence and administrative directives across the vast expanses of Central Asia. Impressively, the beacon tower system could relay urgent messages from Kashgar to Chang'an in under 10 days, overcoming significant geographical challenges. The administration of the protectorate system demanded a high level of organizational complexity to govern the diverse populations and intricate economic dynamics of Central Asian territories. Chinese officials acquired specialized expertise in local languages, customs, and legal systems, while implementing imperial policies that accommodated regional variations in social structure and economic activities. The legal code was adapted to address the unique circumstances of Central Asian territories, including regulations for overseeing international trade, resolving disputes among merchants from different regions, and ensuring security along caravan routes. During this period, Chang'an, the capital of the Tang dynasty, underwent rapid expansion as it became the eastern hub of a comprehensive trade network spanning the Eurasian continent. By 700 AD, the city's population had grown to approximately 1 million residents, establishing it as the largest city globally at that time. Chang'an's diverse ambiance mirrored its role as a focal point of international trade interactions, with foreign merchants, diplomats, and scholars representing a notable segment of the urban population. The Western market in Chang'an, covering over 1,600 acres and hosting more than 3,000 shops organized by goods categories, exemplified the city's commercial life. The international nature of the market was immediately evident to visitors who encountered merchants speaking a multitude of languages and offering goods from various corners of the known world. Persian carpets, Indian spices, Central Asian horses, and Byzantine gold pieces vied for attention alongside Chinese silk, porcelain, and lacquerware, creating a commercial setting unparalleled in human history. Foreign traders in Chang'an established enduring communities complete with their own temples, schools, and social structures that kept cultural ties to their homelands while integrating into Chinese urban society. The Sogdian merchant cohort, comprising thousands, erected elaborate mansions in the city's western sectors and engaged Chinese artisans to forge architectural styles blending Central Asian and Chinese influences. These dwellings boasted traditional Chinese courtyard configurations adorned with Persian-inspired decorations and Central Asian furniture layouts. The policies of the Tang government towards foreign traders demonstrated a nuanced comprehension of global trade dynamics, harmonizing revenue generation and the facilitation of favorable conditions for long-distance commerce. Imperial authorities imposed standardized tariffs on imported goods set at a level to yield substantial state income without impeding trade. They also supplied security services, upheld commercial infrastructure, and extended legal safeguards, rendering Chang'an an appealing hub for merchants from Eurasia. Tang customs officials devised intricate categorization systems for imported goods, promoting accurate taxation while averting disputes over product classifications and valuations. Mastery of foreign merchandise and manufacturing techniques necessitated the establishment of specialized bureaucratic roles for officials with expertise in international commerce. The government maintained reference collections of foreign goods for customs officials to authenticate and assess the quality of imported items. During the Tang period, the diversification of trade goods altered Silk Road commerce, shifting its focus from luxury goods to products catering to a wider audience. While silk continued to be a key export, Chinese traders started exporting porcelain, tea, paper, and other manufactured items, appealing to a broader market in foreign lands. This expansion mirrored the increased production capabilities in China and the rising demand for Chinese goods among middle-class consumers in Central Asia and the Middle East. Tang porcelain production flourished, with potters innovating new techniques to produce high-quality ceramics resilient to long-distance travel. Characterized by distinctive glazes and decorative styles, Tang porcelain captivated foreign buyers while upholding the superior quality that distinguished Chinese ceramics from those of other regions. Specialized packing methods using straw, silk padding, and wooden containers enabled porcelain to endure lengthy journeys to distant markets without incurring significant damage. Tea production emerged as a significant Chinese export industry during the Tang dynasty, introducing the beverage to Central Asian and Middle Eastern populations unfamiliar with its consumption. Chinese traders recognized tea's lightweight and value as ideal for long-distance trade, as its preservational qualities allowed it to endure extended transport without compromising quality. The creation of compressed tea bricks, specifically for export standardized products, facilitating ease of transportation and trade. The dissemination of paper-making technology to the West accelerated during the Tang period as Chinese artisans set up workshops in Central Asian cities with imperial support. The government-supported technology transfers aimed to establish local paper production capabilities to serve Chinese administrative needs and boost export earnings. Paper workshops in Samarkand, established with Chinese guidance in the 8th century AD, emerged as key suppliers for Middle Eastern markets, facilitating the spread of paper-making technology to the Islamic world. Trade goods entering Tang commercial networks showcased the vast geographical reach of their operations. Arabian horses, valued for their speed and endurance, were transported to Chang'an via Central Asian intermediaries who possessed specialized expertise in equine breeding and training. These horses fetched high prices in Chinese markets, where military officials and affluent individuals vied to acquire animals with superior lineage and demonstrated performance. Luxury goods in Chinese markets expanded with the introduction of exquisite gemstones sourced from various regions. Lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, rubies from Burma, and pearls from the Persian Gulf made their way to Chang'an through intricate trading routes involving numerous intermediaries and transportation modes. Chinese artisans innovated jewelry-making techniques to highlight these foreign gemstones, blending traditional Chinese metalwork with international design elements, resulting in unique artistic styles. The influx of spices and aromatics from India and Southeast Asia revolutionized Chinese culinary and religious traditions. Previously unfamiliar ingredients like black pepper, cardamom, and other spices gained prominence in both imperial court dishes and everyday cooking. The introduction of aromatic substances such as frankincense supported the proliferation of Buddhist practices and gave rise to new forms of luxury consumption among affluent Chinese households. During the Tang period, the Silk Road witnessed a vibrant cultural renaissance, showcasing an unprecedented level of global interaction fostered by political stability and economic prosperity. Chinese poets, musicians, and artists assimilated influences from Central Asian customs while introducing their unique innovations to the diverse culture flourishing in key trade hubs. This fusion of cultures gave rise to artistic accomplishments that could only have blossomed through the transnational exchanges made possible by extensive long-distance trade routes. Notably, Tang poetry soared to its pinnacle during this epoch, with luminaries such as Li Bai and Du Fu crafting masterpieces infused with imagery and themes inspired by their encounters with foreign cultures and landscapes. Li Bai's verses often evoked Central Asian landscapes, exotic traditions and cross-border journeys, mirroring the cosmopolitan ambiance of Tang society. His renowned poem, The Road to Shu, cleverly weaved tales of perilous mountain passes linking China to Central Asia, embodying the bold essence of the Silk Road era. Interactions between Chinese and Central Asian musical traditions birthed novel instrumental techniques and compositional styles that left an indelible mark on courtly gatherings and popular culture. The emergence of the pipa, an adaptation of Central Asian stringed instruments, transformed Tang court music by blending it with Chinese musical sensibilities. Chinese musicians honed their craft by learning novel playing techniques from Central Asia, amalgamating Chinese melodic frameworks with exotic rhythmic elements to forge fresh musical genres. Fusion of dance customs from diverse Central Asian cultures with traditional Chinese performance arts birthed innovative entertainment forms that captivated audiences across royal and commercial settings. In Tang palaces, the Western region, dances incorporated movements, costumes, and musical accompaniments inspired by Sogdian, Persian, and Turkish traditions, while adhering to Chinese aesthetic principles. These performances demanded a profound understanding of various cultures and artistic expertise, leading to the emergence of specialized professional entertainers skilled in international performance styles. The Tang imperial court's support of international artists and scholars fostered an environment that promoted cultural creativity and artistic exploration. Foreign musicians, painters, and craftsmen received prestigious imperial commissions, granting them resources and recognition, and introducing Chinese audiences to diverse artistic influences from Eurasia. Collaborative workshops at the court brought together Chinese and foreign artisans to work on projects combining different technical skills and aesthetic sensibilities. The religious architecture along the Silk Road in the Tang era mirrored the assortment of spiritual beliefs found in cosmopolitan trading centers. Buddhist temples integrated architectural elements from Indian, Persian, and Central Asian traditions while upholding Chinese structural principles. Notably, the Grand Giant Wild Goose Pagoda in Chang'an, constructed to store Buddhist scriptures brought from India by Xuanzang, showcased the international flair of Tang religious architecture by blending Chinese building methods with Indian design proportions and decorative features. Zoroastrian fire temples in Chinese cities catered to Persian merchant communities and exposed Chinese residents to foreign religious customs and architectural styles. These temples were distinguished by unique design elements accommodating Zoroastrian rituals while complying with Chinese construction regulations and aesthetic preferences. The coexistence of diverse religious practices in Tang urban centers facilitated unprecedented opportunities for theological discussions and philosophical exchanges. The Nestorian Christian community in Chang'an constructed churches that blended Byzantine architectural principles with Chinese construction techniques and decorative styles. In 781 AD, the renowned Nestorian stele was erected, chronicling the history of Christianity in China and showcasing the advanced theological understanding that emerged from the interaction between Chinese and Middle Eastern Christian beliefs. The bilingual inscription on the stele in Chinese and Syriac mirrored the diverse nature of religious communities along the Silk Road. During the later Tang period, Islamic merchants and scholars started appearing in Chinese cities, introducing another significant religious tradition to the multicultural environment of Silk Road society. The development of the first mosques in Chinese territory required innovative architectural solutions that accommodated Islamic spatial requirements within Chinese building traditions and urban planning concepts. These early mosques set architectural standards for Islamic structures in China, shaping religious building designs for generations. The Tang government's approach to foreign religions demonstrated a pragmatic stance, balancing tolerance for religious diversity with a focus on social harmony and political stability. Imperial authorities generally endorsed foreign religious practices as long as they did not pose a challenge to political power or disrupt social order. This attitude fostered an environment where diverse religious traditions could coexist and engage in meaningful exchanges, fostering theological dialogues and intellectual enrichment within Silk Road communities. During the Tang era, commercial law evolved to address the intricate legal complexities arising from international trade relations. Chinese legal experts specialized in foreign commercial practices and contractual agreements, developing new legal frameworks to resolve disputes among merchants from different legal backgrounds and countries. The Tang Legal Code incorporated specific regulations for international commerce that set precedents for medieval international trade law, standardizing weights, measures, and currency throughout Tang territories, streamlined commercial transactions while mitigating the risks of fraud and disputes. Imperial officials established standard measurement references in key trade hubs for merchants to verify the accuracy of their measuring devices and currency. These standards were regularly updated and overseen by specialized bureaucratic offices to ensure uniformity across the expansive Tang Empire. Banking and credit systems grew increasingly sophisticated during this era. Chinese merchants devised new financial tools to navigate the challenges of long-distance trade and established partnerships with foreign traders, allowing commerce to proceed without physically transporting large sums of precious metals across hazardous regions. These partnerships relied on extensive trust networks and communication structures, connecting commercial communities over vast distances. Utilizing the Tang postal system, initially developed for governmental purposes, merchants could now use commercial messaging services to coordinate business dealings across significant geographic expanses. The intricate network of post stations and relay riders enabled rapid transmission of commercial correspondence from Chang'an to cities in Central Asia within a matter of weeks, fostering business relationships that would have otherwise been impractical without a dependable communication infrastructure. The waning of Tang authority in Central Asia in the mid-8th century led to a power vacuum exploited swiftly by Arab military forces, transforming the political, commercial, and cultural milieu of the Silk Road. Commencing with the seizure of Bukhara in 709 AD, the Arab conquest of Transoxiana culminated in a pivotal triumph over Chinese forces at the Battle of Talas in 751 AD, signifying the conclusion of Chinese political hegemony in Western Central Asia and heralding a new era of Islamic influence that would reshape trade networks throughout the region. While the Battle of Talas held minimal immediate military significance, its enduring impact lay in its cultural and technological ramifications. Leveraging superior cavalry tactics and forming a strategic alliance with dissatisfied local Turk forces, the Arab triumph led to the capture of numerous Chinese captives, including skilled artisans and craftsmen whose expertise would greatly benefit Islamic technological advancement. Notably among these captives were paper makers whose knowledge facilitated the establishment of paper production sites in Samarkand, marking the inception of westward transmission of papermaking technologies into the Islamic realm. The Umayyad and subsequent Abbasid administrations adopted a pragmatically flexible approach to governing Central Asia, contrasting markedly with earlier Chinese administrative methodologies. Arab administrators in diverse populations opted for flexible policies, allowing local customs to coexist with Islamic practices, as long as they didn't directly contradict fundamental Islamic principles. This strategy was instrumental in preserving commercial ties with non-Muslim merchants essential for trade networks. In Central Asian territories, the conversion to Islam progressed gradually along commercial and social networks rather than administrative boundaries. Sogdian merchant families, realizing the benefits of affiliating with the new ruling elite, embraced Islam while maintaining existing business relationships. These conversions led to a fusion of Islamic religious practices with traditional Central Asian commercial customs and social structures. Samarkand emerged as the leading Islamic commercial hub, in Central Asia during the 9th and 10th centuries, even surpassing Baghdad in certain aspects of international trade. Strategically located at the intersection of routes from China, India, Persia, and the Middle East, Samarkand became a hub for complex Islamic period trade activities. The city's markets specialized in high-value goods like Chinese silk, Indian gemstones, Persian carpets, and luxury items from the Islamic world. The Samanid dynasty, ruling from Bukhara between 875 and 999 AD, effectively blended Islamic governance with Central Asian commercial traditions. While upholding nominal allegiance to the Abbasid Caliphate, the Samanids maintained practical independence in managing economic and commercial affairs within their territories. Their policies actively promoted long-distance trade by investing in infrastructure, standardizing laws, and establishing diplomatic agreements that facilitated merchant activities across their vast territories. Samanid silver mines in the Panjshir Valley and other regions provided the financial basis for expanded commercial ventures throughout Central Asia and beyond. The consistent quality and weight of Samanid silver dirhams made them the preferred currency for international transactions spanning a wide geographical area from the Baltic Sea to the Indian Ocean. Archaeological findings of Samanid coins in Scandinavian hoards attest to the expansive trade networks utilizing Samanid silver as a medium of exchange. Standardizing Islamic commercial law throughout Central Asian regions resolved many legal intricacies that previously hindered international trade relations. Islamic jurists developed comprehensive frameworks for addressing commercial disputes, contracts, and partnerships that could be uniformly applied across diverse regions and cultural settings. The establishment of the Islamic community of believers fostered assumptions of trustworthiness and mutual obligations that facilitated business ties among merchants who had not met in person. The introduction of the Hala system during this era transformed long-distance trade finance by enabling merchants to transfer funds across extensive distances without physically transporting precious metals or coins. This system hinged on dependable networks of intermediaries who meticulously documented financial responsibilities and periodically reconciled accounts through various compensatory mechanisms. For instance, a merchant in Bukhara could entrust silver to a local Hala agent, authorizing a counterpart in Damascus to receive an equivalent amount from the agent's associate, thus mitigating the risks and expenses linked with transporting currency across perilous lands. Hala operations necessitated extensive communication networks and sophisticated record-keeping systems that linked commercial communities throughout the Islamic world. The effectiveness of these systems relied on the dependability of participating agents and the precision of exchange rate information transferred between various commercial centers. Islamic merchants established standardized procedures for calculating exchange rates, factoring in transportation costs, and managing timing discrepancies inherent in long-distance financial transactions. The integration of Islamic territories into existing Silk Road networks unfolded through the gradual adaptation of established commercial practices rather than the wholesale replacement of existing systems. Islamic merchants adeptly navigated traditional Central Asian trading customs while introducing new financial instruments and legal frameworks to improve commercial efficiency. This pragmatic approach facilitated Islamic commercial expansion without disturbing the fundamental economic relationships that underpinned long-distance trade. Bukhara's ascent as a significant intellectual hub complemented its commercial significance, fostering an environment where Islamic scholarship thrived alongside international trade endeavors. The city's madrasas drew students from across the Islamic world, while its libraries safeguarded and disseminated classical texts from Greek, Persian, and Indian sources. The renowned physician and philosopher Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna, spent his early years in Bukhara, benefiting from access to an exceptional collection of philosophical and scientific manuscripts that influenced his intellectual growth. The translation movement characterizing Islamic intellectual life in the 9th and 10th centuries heavily relied on the cosmopolitan commercial networks linking Islamic territories with other cultural regions. Merchants journeying to India, China, and Byzantine territories often carried manuscripts and books that they vended to Islamic scholars and libraries. Islamic scholars leveraged commercial trade in intellectual materials to access Greek philosophical texts, Indian mathematical treatises, and Chinese scientific works that would have otherwise been inaccessible. Working in Central Asian cities such as Samarkand and Bara, these scholars developed advanced techniques for translating and safeguarding classical knowledge from diverse cultural backgrounds. The renowned House of Wisdom in Baghdad was a prominent hub for these activities, yet similar institutions in Central Asian cities played equally significant roles in preserving and disseminating classical learning. Financial backing from affluent merchants, recognizing the practical benefits of scientific and mathematical knowledge for their commercial endeavors, often supported these scholarly pursuits. The preservation of Greek philosophical texts through Arabic translations was instrumental in transmitting classical knowledge to medieval Europe. Islamic scholars not only translated Greek works but also composed extensive commentaries to elucidate complex concepts and establish links between Greek philosophical ideas and Islamic theological principles. These commentaries frequently integrated insights from Persian and Indian philosophical traditions encountered by Islamic scholars through commercial and cultural interactions along the Silk Road. Mathematical and astronomical knowledge from Indian sources reached Islamic scholars primarily via commercial networks connecting Central Asian cities with Indian trading hubs. Islamic mathematicians acquired Indian numerical systems and computational methods, which they honed and disseminated throughout the Islamic world. Embracing Indian numerical notation, including the revolutionary concept of zero, transformed mathematical computation and facilitated the advancement of more sophisticated commercial accounting systems. Chinese technological knowledge was disseminated to Islamic territories through multiple channels, such as the transfer of captured artisans, diplomatic interactions, and commercial engagements with Chinese traders who frequented Central Asian markets. Despite the shifts in power that followed the Battle of Talis, Islamic craftsmen acquired expertise in various Chinese techniques, including silk production, porcelain manufacturing, and metallurgy, adapting these methods to suit local conditions and market demands. The transmission of papermaking technology from Samarkand to other Islamic cities in the West brought about a significant transformation in administrative and intellectual practices across the Islamic world. The establishment of paper production facilities in key cities like Baghdad and Damascus provided cost-effective writing materials, fueling the expansion of bureaucratic record-keeping, commercial documentation, and scholarly pursuits. The proliferation of affordable paper was instrumental in the growth of Islamic banking systems that relied on comprehensive written records of financial transactions. Islamic traders innovated new trade goods tailored to the religious and cultural inclinations of Islamic consumers. Prohibitions on silk attire for men under Islamic law spurred demand for alternative luxury textiles, leading to increased trade in fine wool fabrics, cotton textiles, and blended materials. Islamic merchants diversified their offerings to encompass goods that supported religious practices, including prayer rugs, incense, and items for mosque embellishments and religious ceremonies. The pilgrimage trade to Mecca created fresh commercial prospects that Islamic traders capitalized on along the Silk Road. Establishments targeting the needs of pilgrims were set up, facilitating transportation, lodging, and provision of goods and services for travelers from Central Asia, China, and other distant regions. Encouraging progress, Islamic merchants leveraged pilgrimage routes to transport goods across different regions of the Islamic world. The evolution of Islamic commercial partnerships, notably Mudarabah arrangements, allowed merchants to pool resources and distribute risks, facilitating more extensive and ambitious trading initiatives. These partnerships usually involved one party offering capital while another contributed labor and expertise, with profits shared based on predetermined formulas. The legal framework governing Mudaraba relationships ensured investor security and allowed entrepreneurial merchants to access capital for trading activities. Islamic commercial laws focus on ethical business practices and fair dealing, establishing trust relationships that supported long-distance trade among merchants from diverse ethnic or cultural backgrounds. The Islamic ban on usury led to the development of alternative financing methods that provided similar economic functions without compromising religious beliefs. These advancements in commercial finance empowered Islamic merchants to effectively compete with non-Islamic trading networks while upholding religious principles. The spread of Islamic influence along the Silk Road coincided with significant technological innovations in transportation and logistics. Islamic merchants devised enhanced caravan organization techniques to enhance the efficiency and safety of long-distance travel. These enhancements included improved cargo loading and securing methods, more efficient pack animal management systems, and enhanced security measures to minimize losses from banditry and natural disasters. The establishment of caravans at regular intervals along major trade routes offered standardized accommodation and services for traveling merchants. Typically constructed around fortified courtyards with secure storage spaces and animal enclosures, these facilities provided protection from weather elements and security threats. Moreover, the caravans acted as information hubs where merchants could gather up-to-date intelligence on market conditions, route safety, and political developments in distant regions. Islamic urban planning in Central Asian cities exemplified the fusion of commercial and religious aspects characteristic of Islamic civilization. Central bazaars in cities such as Samarkand and Bukhara were strategically positioned near major mosques, forming bustling commercial hubs where trade and religious observance intertwined harmoniously. The architectural layout of these markets catered to both individual transactions and large-scale wholesale dealings, contributing to the efficient operation of regional distribution networks. The rise of Islamic banking institutions in prominent commercial hubs provided vital infrastructure for long-distance trade unparalleled in Central Asia's history. These establishments offered essential services like currency exchange, commercial credit, and diverse financial tools that mitigated risks and streamlined costs associated with international trade. By establishing interconnected relationships with similar entities in various urban centers, these banking houses forged extensive financial networks supporting commerce across vast geographical expanses. The inclusion of Turkic peoples in Islamic commercial frameworks during the 10th and 11th centuries injected fresh vigor and resources into Silk Road trade routes. Turkic traders and military figures embracing Islam upheld their traditional skills in horse breeding and nomadic logistics while adopting Islamic commercial norms and legal structures. This blend of nomadic agility with Islamic commercial acumen gave rise to influential trading entities that wielded significant influence over specific sectors of Central Asian trade. The Ghaznavid Empire, founded by Turkic converts to Islam, ushered in new political dynamics impacting the flow of Silk Road commerce in the late 10th and early 11th centuries. Ghaznavid military expeditions into India catalyzed the emergence of novel trade corridors and markets, while their strategic control over pivotal Central Asian territories reshaped the movement of goods connecting China, India, and the Middle East. Their capital, located at Guinea, emerged as a crucial hub of trade, bridging the Indian Ocean trade networks with the traditional routes of the Silk Road. The fragmented political landscape that had long defined Central Asia following the decline of unified Islamic authority set the stage for a remarkable transformation in the history of the Silk Road. By the early 13th century, the Khwarezmid Empire held significant sway over Transoxiana and eastern Iran. While various Turkic and local rulers governed smaller regions across the area, Chinese influence had receded to the lands east of the Jade Gate, relinquishing control of the western segments of the traditional trade routes to conflicting local powers. These powers frequently disrupted commercial practices through warfare, high taxation, and capricious policy alterations. In this disunited political setting emerged Teo Jin, later renowned as Genghis Khan, whose tactical prowess and astute organizational skills would lead to the formation of the most expansive contiguous land empire in human history. Born around 1162 AD into a modest Mongol clan grappling for existence on the unforgiving steppes north of China, Teo Jin's early encounters with tribal conflicts, limited resources, and political instability profoundly shaped his perception of the interplay between military might and economic well-being. His ascendancy to dominance among the Mongol tribes between 1196 and 1206 AD showcased an unparalleled ability to unite diverse nomadic groups into a cohesive military body capable of subjugating settled societies. The military system fashioned by Genghis Khan ushered in a revolutionary amalgamation of traditional steppe warfare tactics and innovative organizational frameworks, as well as strategic doctrines drawn from various sources. Mongol armies, structured around decimal units of 10, 100, and 1,000 warriors, exhibited adaptable command hierarchies that could swiftly adjust to changing battlefield dynamics. Every soldier maintained multiple horses, allowing Mongol forces to traverse great distances at unprecedented speeds, consistently catching their adversaries off guard and disrupting conventional defensive strategies. The Mongols' proficiency in siege warfare, initially constrained by their nomadic heritage, saw a significant enhancement through the strategic enlistment of skilled Chinese, Persian, and Central Asian engineers and craftsmen. These adept individuals possessed specialized expertise in fortification construction and siege equipment operation. The Mongols' openness to embracing and enhancing foreign military technologies, coupled with their knack for orchestrating large-scale siege operations involving thousands of laborers, empowered them to conquer fortified cities that were once deemed invulnerable. The Western Shia Kingdom's conquest between 1205 and 1209 AD marked Genghis Khan's inaugural foray into governing settled agrarian populations with economic systems distinct from the nomadic pastoral traditions. By capitalizing on the systematic exploitation of agricultural surplus, the Mongols unearthed that it could yield far more significant wealth than traditional nomadic raids. This realization spurred the formulation of administrative strategies that harmonized resource extraction with the preservation of productive capacities. These early endeavors in sedentary governance proved pivotal, laying the foundation for the Mongols' subsequent administration of vast and intricate territories. The Jin dynasty's realms in northern China posed formidable military and administrative challenges during the 1211 AD campaigns. With their sophisticated defense mechanisms, well-equipped professional armies, advanced weaponry, and intricate bureaucratic setups that had overseen millions for a century. Overcoming the Jin necessitated not only military triumph, but also the cultivation of administrative proficiencies to oversee Chinese agricultural frameworks, urban populations, and commercial networks without jeopardizing the economic fundamentals that rendered these territories valuable. The Mongols' administrative tactics in conquered Chinese lands exhibited a noteworthy pragmatism by adapting traditional Chinese governing systems to meet Mongol imperatives. The Mongols opted to retain experienced Chinese bureaucrats rather than replacing them entirely. They appointed Mongol supervisors to oversee the bureaucrats' activities, ensuring compliance with imperial policies. This method preserved crucial administrative knowledge while asserting Mongol political dominance over intricate governmental systems that nomadic administrators could not manage independently. Between 1219 and 1221 AD, the Mongols eradicated the Quiris mid-empire, removing the primary barrier to their control over Central Asian trade routes. Despite this success, the military campaign inflicted severe damage on urban centers such as Samarkand, Bukhara, and MV, causing disruption to commerce in the region. Eyewitness reports detailed the extensive destruction of irrigation networks, the slaughter of urban populations, and the abandonment of agricultural lands that had sustained trade route cities for centuries. Genghis Khan's strategic vision prioritized the complete elimination of opposition over extended occupation, which would have constrained Mongol forces essential for further conquests. In the aftermath of the initial devastation, the revival of Central Asian commercial hubs showcased the Mongols' increasing awareness of the link between urban prosperity and imperial revenues. Mongol officials initiated strategies to entice merchants and craftsmen back to the ruined cities, providing tax breaks, security assurances, and infrastructure development that gradually revived commercial activities. The reconstruction of Samarkand during the 1220s embodied this policy, as Mongol authorities enlisted skilled artisans from various regions, offering resources and protection to re-establish productive workshops and commercial establishments. Genghis Khan's legal reforms outlined in the Yasa established consistent regulations for commercial dealings, criminal justice, and administrative processes throughout the vast Mongol territories. The regulations established by Yasa concerning safeguarding merchants, upholding contracts, and resolving disputes set up legal structures that streamlined long-distance trade by minimizing uncertainties and risks that once complicated international business interactions. Merchants under Mongol safeguarding could count on consistent legal treatment regardless of their ethnicity or the specific regions they traversed. The Mongol communication system, known as the YAM, served as the most advanced network in medieval history, facilitating swift transmission of information across distances that previously required months or even years for delivery. This system functioned through a series of relay stations located approximately every 25 miles along key trade routes. Each YAM station is equipped with fresh horses and skilled riders capable of swiftly delivering imperial messages. Correspondence from Karakoram to European territories took just 6 weeks, while messages to Chinese territories arrived in a mere 3 weeks. Besides offering communication services, YAM stations provided accommodation and logistical support to authorized travelers, including merchants with imperial trading permits. These facilities provided safe lodging, new pack animals, and route guidance, reducing costs and risks associated with long-distance travel. Standardized services throughout the YAM network ensured consistent travel conditions, allowing merchants to confidently plan intricate trading expeditions and complete intended itineraries. To integrate conquered regions into a cohesive administrative system, a uniform currency and measurement system were developed to facilitate commerce across diverse cultures. Mongol administrators selected silver as the primary medium of exchange for significant transactions, while permitting local currencies for smaller commercial activities. Implementing a dual currency system allowed flexibility for various commercial transactions, establishing imperial authority over major financial flows. Mongol trade policies actively promoted long-distance trade by reducing taxes, investing in infrastructure, and negotiating diplomatic agreements to simplify international commerce obstacles. The Mongols incentivized commerce by minimizing or abolishing customs duties in their territories, understanding that increased trade would result in higher revenues than discouraging taxes. This strategy successfully attracted merchants from Eurasia to exploit Mongol-controlled trade routes. During the Pax Mongolica period, spanning approximately from 1260 to 1350 AD, a conducive environment for cultural interchange and technological diffusion emerged across Eurasia. The stability in governance and protection of trade routes under Mongol rule facilitated the movement of scholars, craftsmen, and religious educators over vast distances, enabling the dissemination of ideas and techniques that would have otherwise been confined within their respective regions in earlier times. This era experienced a rapid spread of advancements in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and various artisanal skills, enriching civilizations throughout Eurasia. Through strategic Mongol initiatives that relocated skilled professionals, Chinese technological expertise expanded into the Middle East and Europe, contributing to innovations in irrigation, agriculture, medicine, and military technology. The impact of this knowledge exchange became more pronounced in the 14th and 15th centuries as Chinese explosives, firearms, and Islamic mathematical methods proliferated across Eurasia, influencing military strategies and scientific developments in diverse regions. Influential Islamic astronomical and mathematical practices also diffused eastward through Mongol networks, influencing Chinese scientific traditions and enhancing their astronomical capabilities through collaborations with Islamic astronomers. The interactions between different cultures gave rise to unique scientific traditions, merging diverse approaches to understanding natural phenomena. The establishment of Mongol capitals such as Karakoram and later Kubalik served as pivotal hubs for global trade, drawing in merchants from all corners of the known world. These bustling cities hosted vibrant markets where a rich array of goods from Europe, the Middle East, Central Asia, China, and India intermingled, unlocking unprecedented commercial prospects. The cosmopolitan nature of these Mongol metropolises fostered cross-cultural exchanges and commercial ties that transcended traditional boundaries of ethnicity and religion. During the peak of Mongol supremacy, spanning from 1271 to 1295 AD, Marco Polo embarked on his famous journey to China. The stable political climate and robust trade networks established by Mongol governance paved the way for extensive and lucrative voyages like Polo's. Hailing from a lineage of Venetian traders attuned to the economic potentials arising from Mongol consolidation of Eurasian trade routes, Polo's family capitalized on trade relations with Mongol authorities, showcasing the tangible advantages of the Pax Mongolica for expanding European commerce. The meticulous observations chronicled in Marco Polo's narratives offer a priceless glimpse into the commercial landscape, urban dynamics, and cultural customs across the vast Mongol Empire in the late 13th century. Polo's vivid depictions of Chinese urban life, industrial practices, and trade customs unveiled to European audiences a realm of economic prospects that would shape European exploration and trade policies for generations to come. Of particular note was Polo's account of China's paper currency system, which captivated European readers unfamiliar with government-issued money divorced from precious metals. Various European voyagers during the Mongol era, such as Giovanni de Andelcarpe, William of Rubruck, and a host of merchants whose fragmented testimonies endure, further attest to the unparalleled extent of transcontinental interactions that epitomized this epoch. Travelers consistently praised the safety and efficiency of journeying under Mongol protection, contrasting their experiences favorably with the risks and uncertainties that had characterized earlier long-distance travel endeavors. The Mongol Empire's policy of religious tolerance fostered conditions conducive to the spread of diverse religious traditions throughout Eurasia. Nestorian Christianity saw unprecedented growth in China during the Mongol era. Islamic scholars and religious teachers gained entry into Chinese territories previously inaccessible to foreign religious influences. Meanwhile, Mongol administrators provided protection and assistance to Buddhist monasteries in Central Asia, enabling them to uphold their educational and cultural roles amidst the political turmoil of the conquest era. Mongol patronage of global scholarship gave rise to intellectual communities that transcended traditional cultural divides. The Khanbalic court hosted scholars from various regions, fostering an environment where Chinese, Islamic, European, and Central Asian intellectual traditions could engage and mutually influence one another. These scholarly exchanges yielded innovations in diverse fields by combining insights from different cultural backgrounds, made feasible through Mongol political unification. The emergence of international diplomatic protocols during the Mongol epoch set standards for cross-cultural communication and negotiation that shaped diplomatic practices for centuries to come. Mongol diplomatic missions to European courts, Islamic realms, and other Asian kingdoms established regular channels for political discourse, facilitating not only governmental relations, but also fostering commercial and cultural exchanges across distant regions. Moreover, Mongol military campaigns in Eastern Europe introduced European populations to Asian military technologies, organizational methods, and strategic concepts, thereby leaving a lasting impact on European military advancements. European military observers studying Mongol military operations incorporated lessons on logistics, communication, and battlefield coordination into their own military systems. The Mongols' focus on intelligence gathering and strategic planning left a lasting impression on European military leaders who had previously favored traditional feudal military tactics, while the fragmentation of the Mongol Empire into separate khanates during the late 13th and early 14th centuries initially disrupted unified administrative systems crucial for long-distance trade. Individual khanates maintained policies supporting commercial activities within their territories. The Yuan dynasty in China, the Ilkhanate in Persia, the Golden Horde in Eastern Europe, and the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia each developed administrative structures preserving commercial advantages inherited from unified Mongol rule while adapting to local circumstances. The Yuan dynasty's approach towards foreign merchants showcased the Mongols' enduring commitment to promoting international trade despite political divisions among Mongol territories. Under Kublai Khan's rule, China's administration bolstered infrastructure and legal frameworks supporting long-distance commerce, introducing initiatives aimed at attracting foreign traders to Chinese territories. The construction of new ports, expansion of canal systems, and implementation of standardized commercial regulations created conditions that propelled Chinese trade to unprecedented heights during the Yuan period. The gradual disintegration of Mongol unity in the late 13th and early 14th centuries coincided with severe demographic disasters that reshaped the economic underpinnings of Silk Road commerce. The Black Death, which ravaged Eurasian trade networks from 1347 to 1351 AD, followed established commercial routes with devastating efficiency, transforming pathways crucial for centuries of prosperity into channels of unprecedented mortality. The emergence of the plague within Central Asian rodent populations led to trading cities along the traditional Silk Road routes, witnessing some of the highest mortality rates. Historical records depict the desertion of entire commercial districts in bustling cities like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Kashgar. The demographic upheaval in these Central Asian trade hubs disrupted the intricate web of commercial relationships, specialized expertise, and financial systems that underpinned the extensive overland trade network. Established merchant families, who had fostered trade connections across generations, faced significant setbacks due to the absence of seasoned traders, local liaisons, and the expert linguistic and cultural acumen crucial for navigating intricate global transactions. The collapse of the Hala banking system, reliant on extensive personal networks and reputation across vast distances, ensued in various regions as essential figures succumbed to the plague or sought refuge in safer lands. Merchants who survived found that the support structures for overland commerce had significantly deteriorated during the plague era. Caravanserais, pivotal for servicing traveling merchants, either stood vacant or underwent repurposing. The specialized artisans responsible for animal care, equipment maintenance, and route guidance either perished or abandoned their crafts. The wealth of knowledge concerning seasonal travel conditions, water resources, and secure transit routes acquired through centuries of commercial engagements dissipated as seasoned guides and caravan leaders perished without passing down their expertise. The political disintegration subsequent to the collapse of the unified Mongol governance posed additional challenges for merchants striving to reconstruct overland trade networks. The downfall of the Yuan dynasty in 1368 AD and its replacement by the Ming dynasty signified the termination of the trade-favorable policies emblematic of Mongol rule in China. During Emperor Hongwu's reign, the new Ming administration implemented isolationist measures that severely limited foreign merchants' access to Chinese territories. Legal protections and commercial privileges that once drew international traders to Chinese markets were abolished. Ming officials regarded foreign traders with suspicion, seeing them as potential security risks who could share information with enemy nations or introduced destabilizing foreign influences into Chinese society. The tributary system, which replaced open commercial relationships, dictated that foreign traders needed official permits, had to navigate complex bureaucratic procedures, and were restricted to conducting business exclusively through government-sanctioned channels. These constraints significantly raised the costs and uncertainties associated with trading with China, making overland routes less appealing in comparison to the emerging maritime alternatives. The fragmentation of the Chagatai Khanate into competing successor states resulted in a patchwork of conflicting authorities along Central Asian trade routes, each imposing unique taxation systems, legal requirements, and security measures. Merchants journeying from China to Middle Eastern markets now encountered multiple border crossings, currency exchanges, and diplomatic negotiations that were previously unnecessary during the era of Mongol unity. The absence of standardized commercial laws meant that contractual disputes could not be resolved through consistent legal procedures. The lack of coordinated security arrangements left merchant caravans susceptible to banditry and localized conflicts. Although Tamlane's campaigns in the late 14th century briefly unified much of Central Asia politically, the military tactics employed caused further harm to the urban centers and agricultural systems that sustained trade route operations. While Tamerlane's court in Samarkand flourished as a hub of artistic and intellectual pursuits, his frequent military campaigns disrupted commerce across the region. The substantial resources allocated to military endeavors limited the available capital for commercial ventures. The pervasive threat of warfare hindered long-term business planning, while the emergence of the Ottoman Empire in Anatolia and the Balkans altered the political landscape and impacted established overland trade routes linking Asia and European markets. Following the Ottoman conquest of Constantinople in 1453 AD, their control over the city granted them significant influence over trade between Asia and Europe. Nevertheless, Ottoman policies concerning long-distance trade diverged from those of previous powers, facilitating the Silk Road commerce. The Ottomans emphasized controlling and taxing existing trade routes rather than fostering expanded commercial activities. This approach resulted in mounting expenses for merchants utilizing traditional overland passages. Ottoman taxation practices entailed hefty customs duties on goods passing through their territories. Moreover, their bureaucratic systems introduced obstacles that prolonged the journeys of merchant caravans and escalated operational expenses. Currency regulations implemented by the Ottomans added another layer of complexity to international financial transactions, obliging merchants to exchange currencies at fixed official rates that often differed significantly from market values. These policies rendered overland routes passing through Ottoman territories less competitive when juxtaposed with maritime alternatives that evaded Ottoman oversight entirely. The Portuguese exploration of sea routes circumventing Africa posed a substantial challenge to the conventional overland Silk Road networks. Vasco da Gama's successful journey to India from 1497 to 1499 AD was a pivotal demonstration of how European merchants could access Asian markets without depending on the intricate overland networks that had long been necessary for trade between the East and West. This Portuguese expedition revealed that maritime routes offered a more efficient and reliable way to transport Asian goods to European markets, effectively signaling the decline of the traditional Silk Road commerce. Utilizing advanced maritime technology, such as enhanced ship designs, navigation tools, and sailing methods, the Portuguese could transport significantly larger quantities of cargo over greater distances compared to overland caravans. A single Portuguese ship could carry as much silk as multiple camel caravans, and the sea route from Lisbon to Goa took only 6 to 8 months, contrasting with the over a year required for overland travel from China to Europe. The decreased travel time ensured that perishable goods reached markets in superior condition, while the reduced transportation costs allowed Portuguese merchants to offer competitive prices for Asian merchandise. By establishing trading outposts in Goa, Malacca, and Macau, the Portuguese forged new commercial networks that directly challenged the traditional Silk Road trade routes. These maritime networks presented numerous advantages over their overland counterparts, such as more predictable scheduling, reduced security risks, and streamlined administrative processes. Portuguese merchants could conduct business through their own colonial representatives rather than navigating negotiations with multiple foreign authorities, and the naval power of Portugal provided security that surpassed the protection available along overland routes. Additionally, the Spanish creation of trans-Pacific trade routes linking the Philippines with Mexico generated further maritime options to supplant the traditional overland networks. The commencement of the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade in 1565 AD facilitated the transportation of Asian goods to American and European markets via Pacific and Atlantic maritime routes, completely avoiding the territories traditionally associated with the Silk Road. Chinese silk, porcelain, and spices became accessible to European consumers through Spanish colonial networks, which provided competitive pricing and dependable delivery schedules. The entry of the Dutch into Asian maritime trade in the early 17th century heightened competition with overland routes by implementing efficient commercial practices that prioritized profit maximization and cost reduction. The Dutch East India Company revolutionized Asian trade through advancements in shipping technology, business structure, and financial management, setting new benchmarks for global commerce. By offering Asian goods at prices that rendered overland options economically unfeasible for most trade categories, Dutch merchants dominated European markets. Chinese maritime exploration during the Ming Dynasty, exemplified by Admiral Zheng, his 7 major expeditions from 1405 to 1433 AD, showcased China's proficiency in long-distance sea navigation and fostered diplomatic ties with rulers in Southeast Asia, India, and the Western Indian Ocean. Utilizing massive fleets with ships surpassing the size of contemporary European vessels, these expeditions featured crews numbering in the thousands and cargo capacities that exceeded European maritime capabilities at the time. Zheng He's missions went beyond mere exploration, encompassing diplomatic endeavors to expand Chinese influence in the Indian Ocean region, commercial ventures to explore new markets for Chinese goods, and technological demonstrations aimed at illustrating China's maritime prowess to foreign leaders. The expeditions established Chinese bases at key locations such as Malacca, Colombo, and Hormuz, forming a network of Chinese-controlled ports to facilitate expanded maritime trade operations. The treasure fleets transported significant amounts of Chinese silk, porcelain, tea, and goods in exchange for local commodities like spices, gemstones, rare woods, and luxury items highly valued in Chinese markets. These trade endeavors highlighted the economic opportunities of sea routes connecting China with Indian Ocean markets. Although the diplomatic ties forged during the expeditions laid the groundwork for increased Chinese maritime commerce, the Ming dynasty's choice to discontinue large-scale naval voyages after 1433 AD signaled a shift towards prioritizing defensive measures on the mainland. The escalating threat from northern nomadic tribes, particularly the resurging Mongol Confederation, led by A. Keichen, necessitated substantial military resources, prompting the imperial government to focus on safeguarding its northern borders rather than further maritime expansion. The expenses linked to maintaining sizable naval fleets and overseas bases became increasingly challenging to rationalize in the face of immediate security concerns along China's northern frontiers. Buddhist monasteries located along trade routes expanded their economic roles well beyond their religious functions. These institutions operated as financial centers, providing merchants with secure storage for their valuables and offering credit facilities for commercial transactions. Additionally, monasteries acted as hubs of information, enabling merchants to access up-to-date intelligence on market trends, political developments, and route safety in distant areas. These services fostered mutually beneficial partnerships between Buddhist communities and commercial networks. Integration of Buddhist establishments into the economic systems of the Silk Road allowed monasteries to amass significant wealth, funding grand construction endeavors and artistic endeavors. The monumental scale of Buddhist structures in places like Bamiyan, Yungang, and Longmen demanded substantial financial resources that could only be obtained through active involvement in long-distance trade networks. Consequently, these initiatives attracted skilled artisans from diverse regions, establishing vibrant hubs of artistic ingenuity and cultural interchange. Buddhist festivals and rituals emerged as key social affairs in Silk Road cities, bringing together varied populations to share religious and cultural traditions. These gatherings served as platforms for merchants of different backgrounds to cultivate personal relationships that facilitated business dealings, fostering cultural exchange and artistic collaboration. The global nature of Buddhist communities along trade routes positioned these religious institutions as natural focal points for cross-cultural exchange and communication. The ebbing of Buddhism in Central Asia during the 8th to 10th centuries AD coincided with shifts in political and economic landscapes that disrupted the entrenched conventions of Silk Road trade. The emergence of Islamic powers in Central Asia ushered in new religious and cultural dynamics, while concurrent political instability hindered the security and profitability of long-distance trade. Nevertheless, the enduring legacy of Buddhist artistic and architectural traditions from the golden age of the religion along the Silk Road continued to shape cultural development in the region long after Buddhism's waning political influence. The dawn of the Tang dynasty in 618 AD heralded the onset of a highly prosperous and culturally vibrant epoch in Silk Road history. Diverging from their predecessors, the Tang emperors pursued an assertive expansionist agenda that pushed Chinese hegemony deep into Central Asia, culminating in the creation of the largest empire in Chinese annals and the establishment of direct administrative dominion over extensive swaths of the trade routes previously managed through loose diplomatic frameworks. Emperor Taung's military expeditions in the 630s and 640 AD meticulously subjugated the Tarim Basin kingdoms that had long retained semi-autonomous status. The fall of Gao Chang in 640 AD annihilated the final bastion of significant independent power in the eastern Tarim Basin, with subsequent conquests of Kucha, Kashgar, and other oasis cities consolidating Chinese sovereignty over the entire region. These conquests represented a departure from preceding Chinese involvements in Central Asia, which had hinged largely on tributary ties and diplomatic alliances rather than direct territorial dominance. Instituting the Tang Protectorate system under the moniker of the Protectorate General to pacify the West, the Chinese erected military outposts and administrative hubs across Central Asia. The principal protectorate headquarters at Kowa oversaw a web of fortified positions stretching from Dunhuang in the east to Samarand in the west, supplemented by subsidiary commands in Kashgar, Khotan, and Karachar. Each garrison hosted numerous Chinese soldiers, augmented by indigenous auxiliary forces, culminating in a robust military presence tasked with safeguarding trade routes and upholding imperial decrees across vast swathes of territory. Chinese military engineers established an extensive network of beacon towers and fortified way stations to support the protectorate forces with communication and logistics. These strategically positioned installations along key trade routes facilitated swift transmission of military intelligence and administrative directives across the vast expanses of Central Asia. Impressively, the beacon tower system could relay urgent messages from Kashgar to Chang'an in under 10 days, overcoming significant geographical challenges. The administration of the protectorate system demanded a high level of organizational complexity to govern the diverse populations and intricate economic dynamics of Central Asian territories. Chinese officials acquired specialized expertise in local languages, customs, and legal systems, while implementing imperial policies that accommodated regional variations in social structure and economic activities. The legal code was adapted to address the unique circumstances of Central Asian territories, including regulations for overseeing international trade, resolving disputes among merchants from different regions, and ensuring security along caravan routes. During this period, Chang'an, the capital of the Tang dynasty, underwent rapid expansion as it became the eastern hub of a comprehensive trade network spanning the Eurasian continent. By 700 AD, the city's population had grown to approximately 1 million residents, establishing it as the largest city globally at that time. Chang'an's diverse ambience mirrored its role as a focal point of international trade interactions, with foreign merchants, diplomats, and scholars representing a notable segment of the urban population. The Western market in Chang'an, covering over 1,600 acres and hosting more than 3,000 shops organized by goods categories, exemplified the city's commercial life. The international nature of the market was immediately evident to visitors who encountered merchants speaking a multitude of languages and offering goods from various corners of the known world. Persian carpets, Indian spices, Central Asian horses, and Byzantine gold pieces vied for attention alongside Chinese silk, porcelain, and lacquerware, creating a commercial setting unparalleled in human history. Foreign traders in Chang'an established enduring communities complete with their own temples, schools, and social structures that kept cultural ties to their homelands while integrating into Chinese urban society. The Sogdian merchant cohort, comprising thousands, erected elaborate mansions in the city's western sectors and engaged Chinese artisans to forge architectural styles blending Central Asian and Chinese influences. These dwellings boasted traditional Chinese courtyard configurations adorned with Persian-inspired decorations and Central Asian furniture layouts. The policies of the Tang government towards foreign traders demonstrated a nuanced comprehension of global trade dynamics, harmonizing revenue generation and the facilitation of favorable conditions for long-distance commerce. Imperial authorities imposed standardized tariffs on imported goods set at a level to yield substantial state income without impeding trade. They also supplied security services, upheld commercial infrastructure, and extended legal safeguards, rendering Chang'an an appealing hub for merchants from Eurasia. Tang customs officials devised intricate categorization systems for imported goods, promoting accurate taxation while averting disputes over product classifications and valuations. Mastery of foreign merchandise and manufacturing techniques necessitated the establishment of specialized bureaucratic roles for officials with expertise in international commerce. The government maintained reference collections of foreign goods for customs officials to authenticate and assess the quality of imported items. During the Tang period, the diversification of trade goods altered Silk Road commerce, shifting its focus from luxury goods to products catering to a wider audience. While silk continued to be a key export, Chinese traders started exporting porcelain, tea, paper, and other manufactured items, appealing to a broader market in foreign lands. This expansion mirrored the increased production capabilities in China and the rising demand for Chinese goods among middle-class consumers in Central Asia and the Middle East. Tang porcelain production flourished, with potters innovating new techniques to produce high-quality ceramics resilient to long-distance travel. Characterized by distinctive glazes and decorative styles, Tang porcelain captivated foreign buyers while upholding the superior quality that distinguished Chinese ceramics from those of other regions. Specialized packing methods using straw, silk padding, and wooden containers enabled porcelain to endure lengthy journeys to distant markets without incurring significant damage. Tea production emerged as a significant Chinese export industry during the Tang dynasty, introducing the beverage to Central Asian and Middle Eastern populations unfamiliar with its consumption. Chinese traders recognized tea's lightweight and value as ideal for long-distance trade, as its preservational qualities allowed it to endure extended transport without compromising quality. the creation of compressed tea bricks specifically for export standardized products, facilitating ease of transportation and trade. The dissemination of papermaking technology to the West accelerated during the Tang period as Chinese artisans set up workshops in Central Asian cities with imperial support. The government-supported technology transfers aimed to establish local paper production capabilities to serve Chinese administrative needs and boost export earnings. Paper workshops in Samarkand, established with Chinese guidance in the 8th century AD, emerged as key suppliers for Middle Eastern markets, facilitating the spread of papermaking technology to the Islamic world. Trade goods entering Tang commercial networks showcased the vast geographical reach of their operations. Arabian horses, valued for their speed and endurance, were transported to Chang'an via Central Asian intermediaries who possessed specialized expertise in equine breeding and training. These horses fetched high prices in Chinese markets, where military officials and affluent individuals vied to acquire animals with superior lineage and demonstrated performance. Luxury goods in Chinese markets expanded with the introduction of exquisite gemstones sourced from various regions. Lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, rubies from Burma, and pearls from the Persian Gulf made their way to Chang'an through intricate trading routes involving numerous intermediaries and transportation modes. Chinese artisans innovated jewelry-making techniques to highlight these foreign gemstones, blending traditional Chinese metalwork with international design elements, resulting in unique artistic styles. The influx of spices and aromatics from India and Southeast Asia revolutionized Chinese culinary and religious traditions. Previously unfamiliar ingredients like black pepper, cardamom, and other spices gained prominence in both imperial court dishes and everyday cooking. The introduction of aromatic substances such as frankincense supported the proliferation of Buddhist practices and gave rise to new forms of luxury consumption among affluent Chinese households. During the Tang period, the Silk Road witnessed a vibrant cultural renaissance, showcasing an unprecedented level of global interaction fostered by political stability and economic prosperity. Chinese poets, musicians, and artists assimilated influences from Central Asian customs while introducing their unique innovations to the diverse culture flourishing in key trade hubs. This fusion of cultures gave rise to artistic accomplishments that could only have blossomed through the transnational exchanges made possible by extensive long-distance trade routes. Notably, Tang poetry soared to its pinnacle during this epoch, with luminaries such as Li Bai and Du Fu crafting masterpieces infused with imagery and themes inspired by their encounters with foreign cultures and landscapes. Li Bai's verses often evoked Central Asian landscapes, exotic traditions, and cross-border journeys, mirroring the cosmopolitan ambiance of Tang society. His renowned poem, The Road to Shu, cleverly weaved tales of perilous mountain passes linking China to Central Asia, embodying the bold essence of the Silk Road era. Interactions between Chinese and Central Asian musical traditions birthed novel instrumental techniques and compositional styles that left an indelible mark on courtly gatherings and popular culture. The emergence of the pipa, an adaptation of Central Asian stringed instruments, transformed Tang court music by blending it with Chinese musical sensibilities. Chinese musicians honed their craft by learning novel playing techniques from Central Asia, amalgamating Chinese melodic frameworks with exotic rhythmic elements to forge fresh musical genres. Fusion of dance customs from diverse Central Asian cultures with traditional Chinese performance arts birthed innovative entertainment forms that captivated audiences across royal and commercial settings. In Tang palaces, the Western region, dances incorporated movements, costumes, and musical accompaniments inspired by Sogdian, Persian, and Turkish traditions, while adhering to Chinese aesthetic principles. These performances demanded a profound understanding of various cultures and artistic expertise, leading to the emergence of specialized professional entertainers skilled in international performance styles. The Tang Imperial Court's support of international artists and scholars fostered an environment that promoted cultural creativity and artistic exploration. Foreign musicians, painters, and craftsmen received prestigious imperial commissions, granting them resources and recognition, and introducing Chinese audiences to diverse artistic influences from Eurasia. Collaborative workshops at the court brought together Chinese and foreign artisans to work on projects combining different technical skills and aesthetic sensibilities. The religious architecture along the Silk Road in the Tang era mirrored the assortment of spiritual beliefs found in cosmopolitan trading centers. Buddhist temples integrated architectural elements from Indian, Persian, and Central Asian traditions while upholding Chinese structural principles. Notably, the Grand Giant Wild Goose Pagoda in Chang'an, constructed to store Buddhist scriptures brought from India by Xuanzang, showcased the international flair of Tang religious architecture by blending Chinese building methods with Indian design proportions and decorative features. Zoroastrian fire temples in Chinese cities catered to Persian merchant communities and exposed Chinese residents to foreign religious customs and architectural styles. These temples were distinguished by unique design elements accommodating Zoroastrian rituals while complying with Chinese construction regulations and aesthetic preferences. The coexistence of diverse religious practices in Tang urban centers facilitated unprecedented opportunities for theological discussions and philosophical exchanges. The Nestorian Christian community in Chang'an constructed churches that blended Byzantine architectural principles with Chinese construction techniques and decorative styles. In 781 AD, the renowned Nestorian stele was erected, chronicling the history of Christianity in China and showcasing the advanced theological understanding that emerged from the interaction between Chinese and Middle Eastern Christian beliefs. The bilingual inscription on the stele in Chinese and Syriac mirrored the diverse nature of religious communities along the Silk Road. During the later Tang period, Islamic merchants and scholars started appearing in Chinese cities, introducing another significant religious tradition to the multicultural environment of Silk Road society. The development of the first mosques in Chinese territory required innovative architectural solutions that accommodated Islamic spatial requirements within Chinese building traditions and urban planning concepts. These early mosques set architectural standards for Islamic structures in China, shaping religious building designs for generations. The Tang government's approach to foreign religions demonstrated a pragmatic stance, balancing tolerance for religious diversity with a focus on social harmony and political stability. Imperial authorities generally endorsed foreign religious practices as long as they did not pose a challenge to political power or disrupt social order. This attitude fostered an environment where diverse religious traditions could coexist and engage in meaningful exchanges, fostering theological dialogues and intellectual enrichment within Silk Road communities. During the Tang era, commercial law evolved to address the intricate legal complexities arising from international trade relations. Chinese legal experts specialized in foreign commercial practices and contractual agreements, developing new legal frameworks to resolve disputes among merchants from different legal backgrounds and countries. The Tang Legal Code incorporated specific regulations for international commerce that set precedents for medieval international trade law, standardizing weights, measures, and currency throughout Tang territories, streamlined commercial transactions while mitigating the risks of fraud and disputes. Imperial officials established standard measurement references in key trade hubs for merchants to verify the accuracy of their measuring devices and currency. These standards were regularly updated and overseen by specialized bureaucratic offices to ensure uniformity across the expansive Tang Empire. Banking and credit systems grew increasingly sophisticated during this era. Chinese merchants devised new financial tools to navigate the challenges of long-distance trade and established partnerships with foreign traders allowing commerce to proceed without physically transporting large sums of precious metals across hazardous regions. These partnerships relied on extensive trust networks and communication structures connecting commercial communities over vast distances. Utilizing the Tang postal system, initially developed for governmental purposes, merchants could now use commercial messaging services to coordinate business dealings across significant geographic expanses. The intricate network of post stations and relay riders enabled rapid transmission of commercial correspondence from Chang'an to cities in Central Asia within a matter of weeks, fostering business relationships that would have otherwise been impractical without a dependable communication infrastructure. The waning of Tang authority in Central Asia in the mid-8th century led to a power vacuum exploited swiftly by Arab military forces, transforming the political, commercial, and cultural milieu of the Silk Road. Commencing with the seizure of Bukhara in 709 AD, the Arab conquest of Transoxiana culminated in a pivotal triumph over Chinese forces at the Battle of Talas in 751 AD, signifying the conclusion of Chinese political hegemony in Western Central Asia and heralding a new era of Islamic influence that would reshape trade networks throughout the region. While the Battle of Talas held minimal immediate military significance, its enduring impact lay in its cultural and technological ramifications. Leveraging superior cavalry tactics and forming a strategic alliance with dissatisfied local Turk forces, the Arab triumph led to the capture of numerous Chinese captives, including skilled artisans and craftsmen whose expertise would greatly benefit Islamic technological advancement. Notably among these captives were paper makers whose knowledge facilitated the establishment of paper production sites in Samarkand, marking the inception of westward transmission of papermaking technologies into the Islamic realm. The Umayyad and subsequent Abbasid administrations adopted a pragmatically flexible approach to governing Central Asia, contrasting markedly with earlier Chinese administrative methodologies. The shift in policy within the Ming dynasty regarding maritime ventures represented a critical juncture in the evolution of global trade dynamics. Chinese disengagement from Indian Ocean trade following the abandonment of Jung's maritime endeavors opened avenues for European maritime powers to seize upon newfound opportunities. Had China persisted in its maritime pursuits, the landscape of global trade networks might have taken a markedly divergent course, potentially maintaining a more equitable equilibrium between overland and maritime trading systems. The consequent retreat of Chinese maritime influence created a vacuum that European powers swiftly filled, solidifying their supremacy in Asian maritime commerce. This ascendancy gradually eroded the economic underpinnings of traditional overland trade routes. The Ming dynasty's imposition of maritime prohibitions aimed at enhancing security by curbing coastal piracy inadvertently curtailed Chinese involvement in international maritime trade, constraining Chinese merchants' capacity to engage in overseas commerce and restricting foreign access to Chinese ports. While ostensibly intended to safeguard against security risks from maritime threats, these policies inadvertently stifled many commercial opportunities that could have facilitated the adaptation of traditional trading hubs to evolving global economic circumstances. The Ming administration's domestic policies signaled a departure from the cosmopolitan outlook prevalent in earlier dynasties, opting instead for a focus on agricultural self-sufficiency and cultural homogeneity. This shift created an environment less conducive to foreign merchants and international trade relations, dampening demand for luxury goods historically traversing the Silk Road and impeding Chinese merchants from integrating into burgeoning global trade frameworks. The emergence of new overland passages linking Russia and China across Siberian territories offered a partial alternative to established Central Asian trade routes, offering a glimpse of potential diversification beyond the confines of traditional economic pathways. Northern trade routes encountered significant geographic and climatic challenges that constrained their economic viability. The harsh, cold, vast distances and sparsely populated Siberian regions meant these routes were more suitable for high-value, low-volume trade rather than the diverse commercial activities typically associated with the historic Silk Road networks. Russia's expansion into Siberia during the 16th and 17th centuries did facilitate some overland trade between European and Chinese markets, albeit with a focus on fur trading and resource extraction rather than promoting transit trade with other regions. This approach, characterized by state control and monopolistic practices, restricted opportunities for independent merchants and hindered the flexibility required for traditional Silk Road trade operations. The changing political landscape in Central Asia during the 15th and 16th centuries introduced additional obstacles to established trade routes. The emergence of the Uzbek Khanate, Safavid Persia, and Mughal India led to the establishment of new political boundaries and administrative systems that often clashed with existing commercial networks. These new political entities enacted their own commercial regulations, tax systems, and legal frameworks, frequently disrupting established trading ties and erecting barriers to long-distance commerce. The Safavid Empire's inception in Persia in the early 16th century briefly raised hopes of revitalizing overland trade routes through Persian lands, as Safavid rulers acknowledged the economic advantages of international trade. The ongoing conflicts between Safavid Persia and the Ottoman Empire resulted in unstable conditions along traditional trade routes, leading to heightened risks for commercial operations. Continuous warfare between these two powers disrupted transportation networks, caused devastation to commercial infrastructure, and introduced political uncertainties that discouraged long-term commercial investments. The gradual decline of traditional Silk Road cities mirrored broader economic shifts that undermined overland trade networks. Historically prosperous commercial hubs like Samarkand, Bukhara, and Kashgar experienced dwindling populations, decreased economic activities, and deteriorating infrastructure as trade volumes declined. The specialized commercial knowledge, craft production capabilities, and cultural institutions that once attracted international merchants to these cities gradually vanished as economic opportunities shifted towards maritime-oriented centers. The evolving global trade patterns during this period signified more than a mere replacement of maritime routes for overland alternatives. The emergence of new maritime networks facilitated distinct commercial relationships, supported different categories of goods, and fostered unique patterns of cultural exchange compared to the traditional overland systems. While maritime routes excelled in transporting bulk commodities and standardized manufactured goods efficiently, they offered fewer opportunities for the intricate cultural interactions and technological exchanges that had enriched civilizations along traditional Silk Road networks. The decline of traditional Silk Road networks in the 15th and 16th centuries left a political and economic void across Central Asia, prompting emerging powers to swiftly step in. Russian expansion into Siberia, initiated by Yermak Timovich's conquest of the Sibir Khanate in 1582, marked a deliberate effort to establish new overland trade connections between European and Asian markets. In contrast to the gradual commercial evolution seen on the Silk Road, Russian expansion proceeded with strategic intent. Expansion in Siberia was achieved through strategic military conquest, followed by administrative colonization, focused on extracting maximum economic gains from the newly acquired lands. Unlike the organic growth of traditional Silk Road cities, based on natural advantages and commercial prospects, Russian settlements in Siberia were meticulously planned to prioritize military control and resource extraction over commercial purposes. By establishing fortified outposts along major rivers, Russia created a network of administrative hubs to exert authority and lay foundations for further territorial expansion. Russian military superiority, especially in the use of firearms against the indigenous populations armed with traditional weapons, played a crucial role in the conquest of Siberian territories. The deployment of matchlock muskets and small cannons by Russian forces proved highly effective against the leather armor and wooden shields utilized by the Siberian warriors. Despite facing logistical challenges posed by the harsh climate and vast distances, Russian commanders tailored their military strategies to suit the local conditions. The military units leading the Russian expansion into Siberia blended traditional Russian military structure with adaptations from steppe nomadic traditions, forming semi-independent warrior communities capable of navigating the Siberian wilderness. This unique approach, coupled with the familiarity of these forces with river navigation, allowed small Russian contingents to assert control over vast territories occupied by significantly larger indigenous populations. The extensive Siberian river systems served as crucial transportation networks linking remote settlements spread across extensive distances. Russian fur trading activities in Siberia initiated the systematic economic exploitation of the region, setting up efficient collection systems that directed valuable pelts to European markets via Moscow and other Western Russian cities. Under the Yasich tribute system, indigenous communities were mandated to supply specific quantities of fur pelts to Russian authorities, establishing reliable revenue streams that supported further territorial expansion. Highly prized furs like sable, marten, and other premium varieties sourced from Siberia commanded top prices in European markets, yielding profits that justified the substantial costs of maintaining Russian administrative presence across the vast and challenging territories. The construction of the Trans-Siberian route linking Moscow to Chinese territories required conquering geographical barriers that had impeded earlier efforts to establish dependable overland connections between European and East Asian markets. Opting for the northern path, the route bypassed political complexities that had interfered with traditional Central Asian trade networks, yet it posed significant climatic hurdles necessitating seasonal travel and specialized equipment to endure extreme cold conditions. Gradually evolving diplomatic engagements with China were marked by border negotiations culminating in the Treaty of Nerchinsk in 1689, a landmark agreement delineating territorial claims along the Amur River and laying the foundation for formal diplomatic ties between Russia and China. This treaty established guiding principles for Russo-Chinese commerce, shaping trade activities over the ensuing 2 centuries, with its provisions for diplomatic missions, border protocols, and dispute resolution mechanisms. The designation of Kyakhta as the primary trade hub for Russo-Chinese commerce introduced a novel commercial model distinct from traditional Silk Road outposts. Serving as a regulated point of contact between the Russian and Chinese empires on their shared border, Kyakhta functioned as a controlled intermediary rather than an autonomous commercial center. Russian and Chinese merchants engaged in business activities under rigorous governmental oversight, with officials from both empires overseeing transactions and levying customs duties based on prearranged agreements. Trade conducted through Kyakhta reflected distinct economic priorities that differentiated Russian-Chinese commercial interactions from those of earlier Silk Road networks. Russian traders primarily sought Chinese tea, silk and porcelain in exchange for furs, leather goods, and European manufactured items. Despite their efforts, the volume and variety of goods passing through Kyakhta remained comparatively limited when contrasted with the diverse commercial activities that flourished in traditional Silk Road cities during their peak periods. Nevertheless, the consistency and security of these trade exchanges yielded dependable revenue streams for both governments. The tea trade emerged as the cornerstone of Russian-Chinese commerce, witnessing a substantial surge in Russian consumption during the 17th and 18th centuries. Russian merchants devised specialized methods to transport tea across Siberian territories, ensuring minimal quality degradation through the use of specially crafted containers and meticulous moisture control measures on lengthy overland journeys. The widespread adoption of tea in Russian society generated a steady demand that facilitated regular commercial ventures. Notwithstanding the vast distances and challenging conditions involved, Chinese trade policies towards Russia mirrored the broader shifts in Chinese attitudes towards foreign commerce that materialized during the Ming and early Qing periods. Chinese authorities regarded Russian merchants as envoys of a neighboring empire rather than independent traders, resulting in diplomatic protocols that underscored governmental supervision over private commercial initiatives. Although these policies constrained the scope of Russian-Chinese trade, they fostered stability and predictability, underpinning enduring commercial ties over prolonged durations. The emergence of the Safavid Empire in Persia at the outset of the 16th century brought about significant shifts in the political landscape, impacting the traditional trade routes linking Central Asia to markets in the Middle East and Europe. By establishing Safavid control over Persian territories in 1501, Shiite Islam facilitated the political consolidation of regions that had been previously fragmented under the rule of competing local leaders for more than a century. The Safavid administrative framework amalgamated Persian bureaucratic practices with Turkmen military structures, giving rise to governmental systems capable of adeptly overseeing the intricate commercial relationships that had long bolstered Persian involvement in long-distance trade. Proactive economic strategies under the Safavids actively boosted commercial progress through targeted investments in infrastructure and legal revisions aimed at enticing merchants and fostering trade endeavors. Noteworthy projects initiated by Shah Abbas I in the early 17th century, such as the construction of new roads, bridges, and caravanserais, markedly enhanced transportation conditions along the routes linking Persian territories to markets in Central Asia and India. The establishment of the new Safavid capital in Isfahan transformed it into a prominent commercial hub that drew merchants from various corners of the Islamic world, creating lucrative market prospects that somewhat offset the decline of traditional trading cities in Central Asia. The Safavid silk industry emerged as a prime exemplar of the successful adaptation of conventional Silk Road manufacturing techniques to the economic landscape of the early modern era. Persian silk producers innovated cultivation methods and processing practices that enabled them to compete effectively with Chinese silk in markets spanning the Middle East and Europe. The establishment of silk production hubs in the provinces of Mazandaran and Gilan engendered integrated manufacturing systems that oversaw all production stages, from silkworm rearing to the final steps of textile manufacturing. During the Safavid period, Persian carpet production reached unprecedented levels of artistic sophistication and technical excellence. The luxury goods crafted in the court workshops at Isfahan and Kashan commanded premium prices in international markets. Employing hundreds of skilled weavers, these workshops created carpets distinguished by intricate designs and superior materials, cementing Persian carpets as the most prestigious floor coverings sought after by affluent consumers in Europe and Asia. These carpet workshops forged direct commercial ties with international merchants, bypassing the intermediary networks typical of earlier Persian craft production eras. Safavid diplomatic relations with European powers opened up new avenues for Persian involvement in emerging global trade networks. Portuguese, Dutch, and English traders established trading posts in Persian territories, providing access to maritime commercial routes, linking Persian producers to European and colonial markets. These connections empowered Persian merchants to expand their commercial endeavors beyond traditional overland routes, while maintaining established relationships with trading partners in Central Asia and India. During the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire's expansion led to the establishment of the largest Islamic political entity since the Abbasid Caliphate. By controlling territories along crucial segments of the Silk Road, Ottoman administration had to integrate diverse populations and economic systems into a unified imperial framework. The Ottoman strategy emphasized practical accommodation of local customs and commercial practices rather than imposing uniform administrative systems. Their control over key cities like Constantinople along traditional trade routes gave them significant influence over commercial exchanges between Asian and European markets. The Ottoman Empire's approach to long-distance trade, in contrast to previous powers promoting Silk Road commerce, focused on generating revenue through taxation and regulation instead of investing in infrastructure improvements or commercial promotion to expand trade volumes. The Devshirme system, which recruited administrative personnel from Christian populations, provided the Ottomans with educated bureaucrats knowledgeable about local conditions and commercial practices across various territories. These administrators were instrumental in managing the intricate commercial relationships within Ottoman territories, understanding both imperial policies and local commercial customs. The emphasis on merit-based advancement within this system created opportunities for talented individuals from diverse backgrounds to attain influential positions within the imperial administration. The Ottomans' military technology and organization empowered them to maintain control over extensive territories and project power across multiple frontiers simultaneously. The Janissary Corps furnished the empire with professional infantry forces equipped with firearms and artillery, while the Ottoman navy asserted dominance in the eastern Mediterranean and contested European maritime powers in the Indian Ocean. These military capabilities safeguarded commercial activities within Ottoman territories and facilitated aggressive expansion policies that brought additional commercial centers under imperial control. The emergence of the Mughal Empire in India in the early 16th century altered traditional trade routes connecting Central Asian territories with Indian markets. Babur's conquest of the Delhi Sultanate in 1526 initiated a process of territorial expansion that ultimately unified most of the Indian subcontinent politically, marking a significant development since the Gupta Empire. The Mughal administrative system merged Central Asian military customs with Persian bureaucratic techniques and Indian commercial practices, forming governmental structures capable of effectively overseeing the vast population and intricate economy of the subcontinent. Mughal trade policies concerning long-distance trade were influenced by the empire's Central Asian roots and its ties to traditional Silk Road networks. The Mughal court maintained diplomatic ties with Safavid Persia, Ottoman territories, and various Central Asian rulers, establishing political conditions that encouraged commercial interactions across traditional trade routes. Mughal traders remained active in overland trade networks while acknowledging the rising importance of maritime routes in Indian Ocean commerce. The rise of Mughal textile production, especially cotton fabrics and luxury textiles, introduced new trade goods that gained popularity across Asia and eventually reached Europe. Mughal workshops crafted high-quality cotton textiles with unique designs that appealed to consumers from diverse cultural backgrounds. By integrating Indian cotton production with conventional silk manufacturing methods, hybrid textiles were created, combining the durability and comfort of cotton with the luxurious appearance typically associated with silk products. Urban development during the 16th and 17th centuries in Mughal territories led to the emergence of new commercial hubs that rivaled traditional Silk Road cities in their cosmopolitan nature and economic sophistication. Metropolises like Delhi, Agra, and Lahore attracted merchants from various parts of Asia, fostering marketplaces where goods from China, Central Asia, Persia, the Ottoman Empire, and local Indian products coexisted. These cities developed specialized commercial districts catering to different types of trade, ranging from bulk commodity exchanges to luxury goods markets tailored for elite clientele. The Mughal monetary system, based on silver currency with standardized weights and purity levels, facilitated commercial transactions across the empire's vast territories. It provided a stable medium of exchange for international trade, with Mughal silver coins gaining acceptance in Central Asian markets. These coins created currency networks connecting Indian commercial centers with traditional Silk Road trading systems. The empire's access to silver from various sources, including European colonial imports, enabled Mughal merchants to participate effectively in international commercial relationships requiring precious metal payments. Regional trade networks in Central Asia continued operating despite the decline of transcontinental commerce, adapting to changed political and economic conditions while maintaining traditional commercial practices. One such durable regional system was the tea horse trade between Chinese territories and Tibetan regions. This trade relationship, which persisted from the Tang dynasty through the Qing period, reflected the economic interdependence of agricultural Chinese communities and nomadic Tibetan populations, transcending political changes. Chinese tea producers in Sichuan and other southwestern provinces developed specialized techniques for processing tea specifically for Tibetan markets. They created compressed tea bricks that could withstand long-distance transportation while aligning with Tibetan preferences for tea preparation and consumption. These tea bricks became a standardized medium of exchange in Tibetan territories, serving as both a commodity and currency in commercial transactions. Standardizing tea brick weights and quality levels established predictable value relationships, facilitating commercial planning and reducing disputes between trading partners. Tibetan horse breeding operations supplied Chinese military forces with cavalry mounts that possessed the endurance and sure-footedness required for navigating mountainous terrain and harsh climates. Tibetan herders' selective breeding techniques produced horses with unique characteristics valuable for Chinese frontier defense operations. The Chinese government's willingness to pay premium prices for high-quality Tibetan horses generated steady demand, supporting extensive pastoral operations across Tibetan territories. Administrative arrangements governing the tea horse trade evolved to adapt to changing political conditions while preserving vital commercial relationships benefiting both Chinese and Tibetan communities. Chinese officials established specialized bureaus responsible for managing tea horse exchanges, overseeing quality control procedures, price negotiations, and dispute resolution mechanisms. These administrative systems provided stability and predictability, enabling long-term commercial planning despite the political uncertainties characterizing Chinese-Tibetan relationships. Over different historical periods, Central Asian bazaar systems continued operating as regional commercial centers post the decline of transcontinental trade routes. They adapted their operations to cater to local and regional markets instead of international commercial networks. Cities like Samarkand, Baku, and Tashkent maintained commercial districts that facilitated trade between nomadic pastoral communities and settled agricultural populations, offering essential services for regional economic development. Central Asian bazaars were renowned for their specialization in goods that mirrored local production capacities and consumption trends, encompassing livestock, agricultural products, textiles, and various artisanal items crafted by local tradespeople. The intricate organization of these bazaars epitomized centuries of commercial wisdom and cultural acclimatization to local environments. Dedicated segments for distinct product categories facilitated streamlined price determination and quality assessment, bolstered by established protocols for conflict resolution and contract enforcement that safeguarded commercial transactions. By intertwining economic activities with social and cultural purposes, these bazaars evolved into pivotal community hubs that transcended mere economic transactions. The European colonial incursions into Asian regions in the 17th and 18th centuries gradually eroded traditional trade routes by instituting maritime commercial networks that offered more efficient alternatives to land-based passages. The Dutch East India Company's methodical approach to Asian trade engendered consolidated commercial endeavors overseeing production, logistics, and promotional operations across diverse territories. This vertical integration empowered Dutch traders to offer competitive pricing while upholding quality standards that conventional land-based networks struggled to match. The English commercial expansion in Indian territories, culminating in the East India Company's governance over a significant portion of the subcontinent, disrupted many established commercial ties that linked Indian markets with Central Asian trade routes. English policies aimed at bolstering British textile manufacturing interests adversely affected traditional craft production systems in India and redirected raw materials toward European markets. These shifts led to decreased demand for goods traditionally exchanged on overland routes and hindered Indian merchants' involvement in conventional commercial networks. The restructuring of global trade dynamics during this era fostered novel economic relationships that gradually supplanted traditional Silk Road conduits with maritime-centered commercial frameworks. The regional trade networks that evolved as part of larger transcontinental systems persisted on a smaller scale, adjusting to changing circumstances while upholding many commercial practices and cultural traditions that defined Silk Road society for over 1,000 years. The weakening of conventional political structures in Central Asia in the early 1800s paved the way for European imperial conquest in territories that had long retained their independence. The fragmentation of the Uzbek Khanates, the decline of Safavid successor states in Persia, and the Qing dynasty's uncertain grip over its western lands exposed vast areas of Central Asia to outside interference. Two expanding empires took advantage of this power vacuum, leading to a transformative reconfiguration of the political landscape in the ancient Silk Road regions. The British East India Company's establishment of authority over the Indian subcontinent in the late 18th and early 19th centuries laid the groundwork for a northward expansion toward Central Asia. Company officials, particularly those stationed in frontier regions like the Punjab and the northwest frontier, began building intelligence networks that extended well beyond British India's formal borders. These networks, comprising traders, explorers, and local sources, gathered intricate details on political climates, military capacities, and economic prospects in Afghanistan, Central Asia, and the approaches to Russian territories. British strategic outlook on Central Asia reflected deep-seated apprehensions about Russian encroachment towards India, shaping imperial strategies for nearly a century. British strategic planners were haunted by the looming threat of Russian forces advancing through Central Asian territories towards the vulnerable northern frontiers of British India, envisioning nightmare scenarios of coordinated Russian-Persian attacks that could endanger the jewel of the British Empire. These concerns, while sometimes exaggerated, were never entirely baseless, compelling British officials to adopt increasingly assertive policies aimed at establishing buffer zones and spheres of influence to deter Russian encroachment on Indian territories. Russian expansion in Central Asia unfolded through a mix of military conquest, diplomatic coercion, and economic integration, systematically eroding the independence of historic Silk Road cities. The incorporation of the Kazakh steppes by Russia in the early 19th century provided strategic footholds for further advancements towards the prosperous oasis cities, controlling key segments of traditional trade routes. Russian military strategists devised specialized techniques for desert warfare, deploying camel corps and mobile artillery units capable of operating effectively in Central Asia's harsh climates. The successful siege and capture of Khiva in 1873 showcased the efficacy of Russian military tactics tailored to local conditions. Under General Konstantin Kaufmann's leadership, Russian forces mounted a multifaceted assault, blending conventional infantry maneuvers with siege artillery bombardment that overwhelmed Khiva's time-honored defenses. Coordinated attacks from various directions, coupled with the construction of siege works by Russian engineers, enabled the artillery to breach the ancient walls, safeguarding Khiva for centuries. This meticulously coordinated assault, characterized by precise timing and harmonized unit actions, underscored the technological and organizational superiority of European armies over their traditional Central Asian counterparts. The fall of Khiva reverberated across Central Asia, signaling to regional rulers that antiquated defensive strategies were inadequate against the modern military capabilities of European powers. The Khanate of Barara, when confronted with the possibility of similar treatment, entered into a protectorate agreement with Russian authorities. This agreement allowed for the retention of nominal independence while acknowledging Russian oversight of foreign affairs and military matters. This model of governance became a blueprint for Russian expansion across Central Asia. By combining the effectiveness of direct control with the political expediency of upholding traditional governing systems, Russian administration of conquered territories in Central Asia demonstrated a practical approach that balanced imperial authority with respect for local customs and economic practices. Russian officials understood that the economic prosperity of these lands relied heavily on maintaining existing commercial networks and artisanal traditions that had evolved over generations. Instead of imposing sweeping changes that could disrupt established economic ties, Russian administrators often preserved traditional market frameworks while integrating themselves into the existing commercial channels as regulators and tax collectors. The commencement of the Trans-Caspian Railway project in 1879 marked a pivotal moment in the history of transportation in Central Asia, rivaling the historic development of the Silk Road networks. This railway, stretching from the Caspian port of Krasnovodsk to Samarkand and later to Tashkent, established the first mechanized transport system capable of efficiently moving large volumes of goods and passengers across Central Asian territories with unprecedented speed and dependability. The completion of the railway altered the economic landscape of the region by bringing European manufactured goods to Central Asian markets at competitive prices and facilitating the transportation of Central Asian products to European consumers with greater efficiency than ever before. The construction of the railway necessitated overcoming substantial engineering obstacles posed by desert landscapes, extreme climates, and the shortage of local resources and skilled labor. Russian engineers recruited laborers from various regions of the empire, establishing temporary construction camps that resembled military outposts more than civilian settlements. The logistics involved in providing essential supplies to isolated construction sites, including food, water, building materials, and equipment, necessitated meticulous planning and significant financial investment. This underscored the Russian government's dedication to establishing enduring authority over Central Asian regions. British reactions to Russian railway development revealed mounting apprehension regarding the strategic ramifications of enhanced Russian transport capabilities in Central Asia. British military experts acknowledged that the railway would empower Russia to swiftly deploy sizable military contingents to Central Asia, posing a potential threat to British positions in Afghanistan and northern India. These anxieties prompted British authorities to pursue counteractive measures, such as launching their infrastructure ventures and engaging in diplomatic endeavours aimed at curbing Russian influence in zones deemed crucial for Indian security. The rivalry between British and Russian intelligence networks in Central Asia fostered a milieu of continual espionage and counter-espionage, later referred to by contemporary observers as the Great Game. This competition not only involved professional intelligence operatives, but also encompassed explorers, traders, diplomats, and adventurers from both empires who gathered intelligence on political landscapes, military capacities, and geographical intricacies of territories that were largely unknown by European standards. The intelligence amassed through these networks influenced policy determinations in London and St. Petersburg that impacted the lives of countless individuals throughout Central Asia. British surveying activities in Central Asian regions, conducted as part of the Survey of India initiative, yielded the first accurate maps of regions that had hitherto been understood by Europeans solely through vague records left by medieval travellers. The extensive trigonometrical surveys conducted in Central Asian territories demanded exceptional bravery and expertise from surveyors who operated in hostile environments, all while maintaining the utmost discretion to evade detection by wary local authorities. These surveyors, often posing as merchants or pilgrims, employed ingenious methods to measure distances and elevations as they carried out their clandestine mapping missions. Referred to as pundits, these indigenous surveyors orchestrated one of the most extraordinary intelligence operations in imperial history. Hailing predominantly from the border regions of British India, these meticulously trained individuals adeptly assimilated into local communities while executing intricate geographical and political intelligence efforts. Their training encompassed mnemonic techniques that facilitated the retention of intricate details regarding routes, distances, political landscapes, and military capabilities without relying on written documentation that could jeopardize their missions if uncovered. Russian archaeological expeditions in Central Asian territories during the late 19th century fused scientific inquiry with intelligence gathering and the assertion of imperial dominance. Frequently backed by the Imperial Russian Geographical Society, these expeditions undertook methodical excavations at sites like Samarkand MV and various points along the traditional Silk Road pathways. The archaeological endeavors yielded invaluable scientific insights into the history and culture of Central Asian societies, showcasing Russian intellectual engagement with the territories under their governance. The endeavors of Russian archaeologist Alexander Cunningham across Central Asia unveiled the remarkable artistic and cultural accomplishments of medieval Silk Road civilizations. Cunningham's excavations unearthed architectural remnants, artistic artifacts, and archival materials that offered unparalleled glimpses into the daily life, economic practices, and cultural customs of the individuals responsible for establishing and upholding the Silk Road networks. His thorough documentation of archaeological discoveries established a scientific archive that safeguarded knowledge of Central Asian heritage amidst disruptions in traditional cultural continuity due to political changes. British archaeological missions led by individuals such as Aurel Steen carried out extensive investigations at locations in Chinese Turkestan and other areas reachable from British India. Stein's journeys to the Taklamakan Desert and the Tarim Basin from 1900 to 1916 led to the unearthing of remarkable archaeological artifacts that transformed the comprehension of Silk Road history and cultural practices. His methodical excavation methods and precise documentation of findings set new benchmarks for archaeological endeavors in Central Asian landscapes. The revelation of the sealed library cave at Dunhuang in 1907 by Stein granted access to one of the largest compilations of medieval manuscripts and written records ever uncovered. Sealed during the 11th century, the cave contained over 40,000 documents in various languages and scripts that chronicled nearly every facet of Silk Road civilization during its zenith. Among these materials were Buddhist scriptures, trade agreements, official correspondences, literary compositions, and administrative records that offered unparalleled understanding of the intricacies and advancements of medieval Central Asian society. The transfer of Dunhuang manuscripts and artifacts to European collections prompted debates concerning cultural heritage and archaeological ethics, influencing ongoing international dialogues on cultural possessions. Stein's procurement of numerous manuscripts, artworks, and fabrics from Dunhuang for British collections was facilitated by payments to local monks overseeing the site. However, the validity of these transactions became contentious as Chinese nationalist movements began asserting ownership claims over cultural heritage. Paul Pelot's French expedition to Central Asia, conducted concurrently with Stein's endeavors, employed distinct methodologies, yet yielded comparably significant outcomes in the documentation of Silk Road heritage. Pelot's proficiency in languages enabled him to analyze manuscripts in their original forms, facilitating the curation of materials with profound historical and cultural value. His activities in Dunhuang and other locations led to the acquisition of valuable manuscript collections for French institutions, enriching scholarly insights into Central Asian languages and literature. Conversely, German expeditions, spearheaded by archaeologists such as Albert von Locke, centered on the Tarim Basin, conducting systematic excavations of Buddhist monasteries and their surrounding settlements. Explorations at sites like Bzeklik and Turfan by von Locke revealed wall paintings, sculptures, and architectural remnants showcasing the artistic accomplishments of Central Asian Buddhist communities from the medieval era. Employing advanced photographic techniques, the German expeditions meticulously documented archaeological findings with unparalleled precision and detail. The competition among European archaeological missions mirrored broader imperial rivalries, contributing to significant advancements in the scientific comprehension of Central Asian history and culture. Each national expedition aimed to secure crucial archaeological artifacts for their respective institutions while conducting research to bolster their nation's academic standing and cultural eminence. While this rivalry occasionally led to expedited excavation methods and insufficient documentation, it also accelerated the pace of archaeological discoveries and heightened European awareness of Central Asian cultural achievements. The documentation of Silk Road heritage through these expeditions unfolded at a critical juncture when traditional cultural paradigms faced disruption due to political transformations and modernization endeavors. Many of the archaeological sites excavated by European archaeologists were already experiencing neglect, vandalism, and natural decay that posed a threat to invaluable cultural materials. Despite the controversies surrounding cultural ownership, the archaeological endeavors succeeded in safeguarding knowledge and artifacts that could have otherwise been lost forever. Responses from local communities to European archaeological endeavors varied significantly depending on the political landscape and cultural attitudes towards foreign research. While some local authorities and religious figures embraced archaeological expeditions as opportunities for employment and economic growth that brought external resources to remote areas, others regarded foreign archaeological activities with suspicion, perceiving them as a form of imperial exploitation that stripped away precious cultural objects from their original settings. The establishment of European colonial administrations in Central Asian regions introduced new legal and administrative structures that impacted traditional trade practices and cultural establishments. Russian administrative mechanisms in Central Asia blended elements of conventional Russian regional governance with adjustments tailored to local circumstances and traditions. Colonial officials typically worked alongside pre-existing local administrators, with Russian overseers ensuring compliance with imperial policies. In frontier regions neighboring Central Asia, British administrative strategies were informed by experiences in governing diverse populations across the empire. The deployment of political agents and resident advisors empowered British officials to exert indirect influence over supposedly independent territories while maintaining adaptability in responding to local political contexts. These arrangements often upheld traditional governing frameworks while ensuring that key policy decisions aligned with British strategic interests. The urban evolution of ancient Silk Road cities under colonial rule involved a progressive modernization process that incorporated European technologies and administrative approaches while striving to uphold culturally significant traditional customs crucial for the economy. The implementation of telegraph networks linking key Central Asian urban hubs with imperial centers led to a transformative improvement in communication efficiency and commercial coordination. What once took weeks or months to relay messages across vast distances could now be achieved in mere hours. The introduction of modern banking systems by colonial authorities gradually supplanted traditional financial networks like Hala, offering new financial services. European financial institutions established branches in key Central Asian cities, providing services such as currency exchange, credit facilities, and international money transfers that streamlined trade with European markets.